Welcome to Blink 155, the only Blink 182 podcast on the internet that has the ability to influence the shape of future Blink 182 events and releases. That's right, we're incredibly powerful. Josiah, how are you doing?
Hey, Sam. Good to be here.
Which one of your many bevies was that you just slammed down?
That's my new thing. I'm just going to say, hey, good to be here. It's great to be here.
Yeah, we need
Thanks
more,
for having me.
Yeah, we need more consistent patter besides my occasional sort of reaching with the big cold open. But for real though, we are very much sort of showing the world our power this week, right?
Yeah, this is like the kind of thing where I actually don't get what's going on. And we've joked before about how we'll talk about people on the pod and they end up being a badman.
Yeah, that's our sort of curse part of our power.
Including you just asked me what I'm drinking, and I don't want to say because I saw a headline today about how this drink is bad now. But I still had some in my fridge. But
well, you got it. That's first. Get rid of it, but then never buy it again.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I wasn't. I didn't see any drinks get dragged today online. But I wasn't online a lot today.
LaCroix is canceled, baby.
No, not Fago's own LaCroix.
Yeah, the king of LaCroix is being sued for groping two male pilots in the cockpit of a private jet.
That does suck.
Which is just the sort of headline that in a different time, at a different level of maturity, one could have had a lot of fun with. But instead now...
I'm not going to have any fun with that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, LaCroix used to be the guilt-free drink with no calories and no sodium, and now there's a little bit of guilt added in.
Well, to you and all the other edgemen out there who use LaCroix to sort of prop up the consumption side of your addictions, I'm sorry. Perhaps join me in drinking a Blue Menu President's Choice Lemon Sparkling Water.
Well, that's obviously problematic if it's the president's choice.
Right, yes. That's true.
Anyways, sometimes we say things and then people's lives get ruined. Mm-hmm. And other times we declare it a season and then it absolutely does become very much that season.
Yeah, is this basically the plot of Bruce Almighty?
I think so.
That's you know how ABC optioned that podcast about making podcasts, Startup, the NPR guy?
Was that the Zach Braff
Yeah,
show?
And I actually listened to the first season of that podcast. I thought it was really well done. It was super interesting. And then
I feel I just started a sentence that I'm already regret because it's so mean. But I feel like you probably also like Zach Braff.
We've been talking for 3 minutes and you couldn't get in a... I enjoyed Scrubs back in the day. I'm not going to hide it. I thought...
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, but I hated Garden State, but I always hated Garden State.
Yeah.
Scrubs was a light, fluffy time.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, the point is they made ABC option this podcast, which was a very sort of clever, fun, informative look at startup culture as this person's, literally producing a new podcast network and a podcast go along with it. And they made just this dopey, Zach Braffy, very 1990s family sitcom about a guy starting a podcast. And so I'm just imagining us in the future when we fully realized our Bruce Almighty-like powers, a real kind of charming low-budget indie about two guys on the Blink 182 podcast who don't realize their powers to influence events and only do things like create ska season and joke season with it.
Yeah. I mean, so we've rightly been called out that ska season is actually not really a thing because ska has we were just sort of awakened to, we got ska pilled and then realized that ska was here all along and then we just hadn't been appreciating it. But either way, we've been calling it ska season because everyone keeps talking about ska. I mean, the guy from Imagine Dragons brought up ska on the fucking podcast. It's been ska season lately. Mm-hmm. And then for some reason that I don't remember why, kind of just built around today's episode, we've made it joke season lately where we've been doing joke songs nonstop.
Yeah, we built an entire season to just suffer through for a month to basically get to today's episode for no particular reason.
It does have a lot to do with Kitty and Sam Ray because they both picked the
That's
most
true.
absolute filthy songs.
Yeah.
And then so needless to say, and this shows also that it's not just about like calling the weather, but also we can create the weather in a way because we made it joke season
Yes.
and then it was.
It was a
So-
man-made weather event.
So over the weekend, if you celebrate colonialism, you might have celebrated Canada Day on July 1st. But if you are a member of the only true nation, the 155 Pod Nation, then you know that July 1st was actually Blink-182 Day, the 182nd day of the year.
Which, like, I'm excited for it to become a full brand hullabaloo the way that May the 4th is... May the 4th or April Fool's Day that are just like these insufferable days to get through online because every Denny's, Moon Pies, airline Twitter account has some fucking bad joke or Star Wars pun that gets, shared by awful people, and you just have to stay offline. And 182
And
Day hasn't
I
quite happened
kind of
yet.
feel like being online for us any day is like that now because people will send us things that happened to Blink-182 like 2 weeks ago that we fucking obviously already know about.
Yeah, like, guys,
Like, what are you supposed to do?
We've seen it.
Someone will send me a thing like Tom DeLonge knows about UFOs, and I'm like, how do I respond to this without telling this person to go fuck themselves?
Yeah, like, trust us, we've seen that Mark Hoppus helped the American military find Saddam Hussein. But 182 Day is every day for us, but not for everyone, and certainly not yet for the brands. This was really the first year that I noticed it happening. And that might have been because of, Blink embracing it in such a rattling way for us.
And also because a year ago on July 1st, we weren't spending our every waking hour thinking about the band Blink-182.
God, what an innocent time.
What a beautiful... So anyways, on the day that colonialists recognize as Canada Day, Blink-182 dropped in the middle of joke season, in the middle of the ongoing era that is ska season, a ska remix of Can't Get You More Pregnant.
And you and I talked about this on chat because it was like 2 days of like letting that sink in.
Yeah, because it actually
happened.
happened. I think the actual timing was we were talking to our guest for this week's episode and for the forthcoming exclusive, and so we kind of like. I think it happened while we were doing that, and then there was like a backlog of notifications that we might have missed it.
Yeah, so this sort of felt like I missed it day of, and then a few days later, it was like, dude, did we do that? And I know we didn't. But
It kind of feels like we did.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing.
Let's just listen to it. Why not? We have time.
Sure.
I mean, this is truly like we obviously did do this.
Yeah.
I think that we might have recorded this and sent it to them.
This is
like
a real like
lossless wave file.
I'm thinking it's like a real like Fight Club kind of moment where this is the moment where I'm like, yeah, Josiah, we did it. We're in Blink-182.
That would be that. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think. Okay, let's listen to it.
I can't get you more pregnant, but if you're worried at all, I'll take care of myself. Too late.
The other weird thing is now it has a different ending.
It's very strange. It's all like it's because it's not just the acapella and somebody fucking around with like some synths. Like they re-recorded the vocals, right?
I mean, I can guarantee that like definitely not every member of Blink-182 probably knew this was happening or was even aware of it. Like probably not a single one of those instruments is played by any of them.
That seems entirely possible. So you think only Mark even knew this was happening?
Or maybe not even that. Maybe the Too Late thing was just from the original vocal track, and they just kept it in.
Oh, right. Okay, so do you think this was just a Feldy like surprise for the band?
Or like Feldy's intern, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
But either way, like there was no reason for 182 Day to be celebrated with a joke song and B, a ska song. That's because of us. Like we did that.
It's that whole sort of concept of ideas being mimetic. You know how you end up with Bugs and a Bug's Life, ants in a Bug's Life.
Right. Hey, don't mention Woody Allen on the pod. You don't want something bad to happen to him with that curse.
That would be terrible. But oftentimes there are just these things that are kind of floating out of the air. You don't realize you're all kind of tapping into the same energies, and maybe it's just that we are so tuned to Blink. It's almost like a familial relationship. Perhaps they'll invite us to their next
shit piss.
Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turn, twat.
So Family Reunion is the song that we're discussing this week. I think this song is great. Josiah, what do you think about the song Family Reunion by Blink-182?
I wonder what I would have thought if we hadn't have spent the last month of our lives thinking about these horrible, unfunny joke songs.
But this is a funny joke song. Or,
well, we'll see.
I don't laugh at it. Oh, no. It's the covers, right? It's the covers?
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's funny or not. I don't know if I can tell, but I do really like the production and the sound of it. And again, there's that acoustic guitar hidden underneath, and that always saves the day for me.
Another great band. Perhaps that'll be our next podcast.
Yeah, didn't mean to do that, but
it's fair. But sort of one of the things I think we've struggled with in sort of immersing ourselves in the climate change of joke season is that most of these jokes are not funny. And I do think in previous episodes we have at least, perhaps only in the context of Can't Get You More Pregnant, referenced Family Reunion as a joke that in a very sort of small package effectively delivers a setup and punchline by calling the song Family Reunion and then just basically doing a sort of distorted George Carlin routine in the style of the band at that time. Like I'm like, again, I'm not laughing, but I'm like, that's clever. I think it's I think it's clever.
But okay, wait. What's the cleverness?
Calling it Family Reunion.
So the family is the curse words hanging out with each other?
I think it's just the idea of these sort of disparate elements going together. Family Reunion has such specific connotations, and then
so it's more of an abstract.
Right, it's like very
concept.
Tim and Eric. But I think that's what they're
well,
going
then
for.
I guess like in the recorded version, in the studio version, at the end, Tom says this thing about, what does he say? Like, I want to fuck my dad or something?
Suck my dad and my mama too, and then, oh wait, is this thing on? Which is...
I mean, first of all, that is very funny.
Yeah.
Pretending that he didn't know the mic was on.
Like, that's just sort of... And, I mean, like, I have no problem believing that that's just sort of how Tom hangs.
You mean wanting to fuck his parents?
I'm just singing about it, at least. Just trying out ideas, man. It doesn't mean you got to do it.
Yeah, okay. Like, I guess the main problem for me is that I don't particularly like George Carlin, and he just reminds me of a certain sort of Punisher along the lines of Bill Hicks or Lewis Black, of like the thinker who really is very much not funny. And then adding that to the fact that I do like that they've appropriated his most famous bit and turned it into a pop punk song that no one knows. But then there's all these like Punisher copy editor correctors all over the internet who are like, actually, this is a George Carlin bit.
Well, should we address that right off the top?
It sounds like we have to.
We have to, and there may be, I don't know. I'm thinking of like, if you're Play Online Songs age, maybe you're not familiar with George Carlin bits.
Right. And to be honest with you, I feel like when I was like really getting very obsessed with stand-up comedy, George Carlin was one of those people that I was always told that I needed to listen to, but I could never really get into it either.
Wait,
and
are you obsessed with stand-up comedy?
I was for a while, like probably 10 years ago. I was like really obsessed with comedy.
What happened? Like what sort of?
Well, I still like it, but I just think it's gotten really bad.
Oh, okay, cool.
But yeah, like George Carlin to me is kind of like when people are like, "Oh, you like rap music? You should check out Sugar Hill Gang." And you're like, "No, I get why it's important, maybe, but it sounds like shit now."
Right? Yeah. Like context, and honestly, the same thing with like punk. Like I get it. When kids are like, cool, I like Blink, but the Descendants sound like shit to me. And I am like, what the fuck? But then I'm like, I get it sounds like shit. Like, the Descendants sound like shit.
Yeah. Or even like hard rock. Like if you listen to Alice Cooper compared to like modern metal, imagine if you were into like modern metal with like really sick guitar rigs, and then you go back and listen to this dinky little like thin guitar.
Yeah. Well, I have
It
this
makes sense.
very distinct memory of being a kid and starting to get into punk. And maybe I've talked about this on the pod, but like I had a family friend who bought me a Fugazi CD and was like, everything you like, this is like the origin of it. And I was so young. I was like, this is fucking horrible. Like, this is horrible music. And sometimes you grow into those things because, like, you get older and just, like, your palate changes and whatever. But I think it's fair to say, like, comedy is a tough one.
Sometimes you grow into it because you've spent $26 on a Fugazi CD.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the only CD you have. But actually, to play into our guests later, if you're listening to this because you like CanCon, I got to say, that happened to me as well. When I bought Red Medicine by Fugazi, I thought Guy Picciotto sounded exactly like David Usher from Moist the whole time.
What?
And it grossed me out so much. If you go into that album thinking that, it will ruin the whole thing for you.
That's it. In my mind right now, it's an insane stretch, so I'm not going to do it because I don't want that thing to happen in my brain. But
I don't know.
George Carlin, I think it's fair to sort of bring that back into comedy because comedy ages, like music on some level, like classic jams are just always going to be classic, right? But like comedy is like so much about context and timing, right? Like that's why I don't watch a lot of late night, but that's why, of the moment, like stand-up specials and things like that can be especially like interesting, cathartic, have something specific to say, and then 10 years later you look back and you're like, I appreciate this, but I don't think it's funny, right?
Yeah, like the great Harris Whittles once did a series of tweets about this, about how there are actually only like 5 truly classic pieces of comedy, and it's always changing. And he pointed out, and I totally agree. I think I've even said this on the pod lately, but like people loved Monty Python so much, but it seems fucking awful now. It has not aged well at all.
You've talked about it, and I haven't. It's all on Netflix now, and I'm like very tempted to rewatch it, but I'm so worried I'm just going to be like, oh, right.
Oh, it's community theater.
Yeah, and there's things that you laugh at because like your own nostalgia, and we all bring our own sort of baggage and perspective to those things, and so that can like make Ace Ventura still funny when you're 33 years old. But even though Ace Ventura is very problematic, and I don't think it's funny, I think it's transphobic. But there's things that like if they're from your childhood or whatever, you might still appreciate them on a level that's hard to separate from contemporary comedic taste or sensibility. But I think by and large, that's a really interesting idea. Can you sort of extrapolate on that a little bit, though? So is it like there's only 5 classically funny things and they're always changing? Like something gets rotated out, basically?
It seemed like it, yeah. I wish I would have brought up his tweets to say it, but I know there were a few other things that were definitely on the list as being funny. But then, like he said, like Blazing Saddles. Like, have you tried watching that movie? It's extremely boring,
dude.
I totally agree.
In a hotel room, like a couple of months ago, with several friends of the pod. Junior Battles was on the road, and Blazing Saddles was on TV, and we had it on, and it was like 10 minutes, and no one laughed. And you know how fucking awkward it is when you're watching a comedy and no one's even like snickering?
Yeah.
And I think eventually it was like friend of the pod, Justin Taylor, breaking the silence, being like, yeah, this movie hasn't aged well, eh? And like that's one of those things that like you grow up with and you're like, it's one of the classic comedies. But in 2018, and it's not that the movie isn't funny or a great work of comedy, but it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one to sort of like move through time seamlessly with.
Yeah, and so especially, but I guess the other problem that I have, which is why I don't particularly like George Carlin and why I don't particularly like a lot of modern stand-up things that go viral, is that there's this idea that these things are important. rather than that they're
Right.
funny. And
Yeah.
this is George Carlin for 7 minutes or longer. I don't know. This might be an edit even, but he basically just rants about these words that are censored on television, so you weren't allowed to say them at the time. First of all, you can't still say some of these words on television, so it hasn't changed that much. But I don't know. So I guess basically this is just like a TED talk about freedom of speech that people pretended was funny because it says tits.
But I think George Carlin and Bill Hicks, I've never really liked Louis Black, but I think some of maybe what you're describing is a little bit of like, I don't hate the band, it's their fans. Because I thought George Carlin was very funny. I think some Bill Hicks stuff is funny, but I recognize that the people that have ultimately like adopted Bill Hicks are like mouth-breathing Jordan Peterson subscribers.
Yeah, well, maybe, I mean, it also is just straight up like a taste thing, too. Like, I just, personally, that type of person who's just going to tell it like it is and just be like this sort of lecture Punisher guy is not interesting to me. And like, there's just nothing, I don't see I actually just personally prefer like a straight up setup and punchline. Like that, I prefer people like
You pick up Mitch
Stephen
Hedberg?
Wright,
Mitch
Mitch
Hedberg
Hedberg,
fan?
or like Stephen Wright. Yeah, that world for sure. And I hate to say it, don't go listen to it because you shouldn't. But Woody Allen's stand up, I used to be a huge fan of as well.
Drinking LaCroix, promoting Woody Allen's stand-up?
No, I said don't listen to it.
Wow.
That's the Blink-155 curse now. So something's going to come out in the news about that guy. Probably
We've talked about
You
him
just wait and
twice.
see.
Yeah, I'm nervous. Oh, boy.
But yeah, I don't know. I prefer just like those people are doing tweets basically and funny tweets, and then these other people are doing like 280 character tweets that are for hashtag the resistance.
Yo, like, I mean, okay. I mean, Mitch Hedberg straight up was doing Twitter jokes, like even more than anyone else. Like, that is very true, and I think quite an apt and exciting observation. I don't know that George Carlin was doing 280 character tweets. I don't know that that's like a fair reduction of the work of George Carlin, because I do think ultimately guys like him, and I can't believe it, Bill Hicks again. If you like Bill Hicks, you're probably terrible, myself included. But you know, those guys obviously saw themselves as taking up the mantle of Lenny Bruce in an incredibly literal and obvious way. And on some level, and again, this is all about context, it's hard for us to go back and say that like isn't valuable or interesting, because it was such a different time. Even though you still can't say those words on television, you know, there was much different sort of standards for like public decorum and things you could even say in theaters, right? I mean, because all things considered, George Carlin isn't that far removed from Lenny Bruce being, you know, arrested for obscenity.
Right.
And I think like that is an interesting and valuable piece of context around that maybe gets so lost when you watch it on YouTube.
And that's why I'm so selfish when I engage with comedy, because I just want to laugh. I don't care if it's interesting. You know what I mean?
But that's fair.
And
That's
like
all you
everyone
should
keeps
want from
talking about
things.
this thing called Nanette on Netflix that I haven't finished yet. Mm-hmm. Apparently it's so important, and there's a big reveal at the end that's so meaningful and powerful, and I'm sure it really is, but like if I'm going to watch a stand-up special, I want to laugh. Like I want to hear jokes.
That's why
I don't
people
watch
listen
TED
to
Talks.
That's why people listen to like 3-hour podcasts. They want to laugh, and instead it's like you and I fumbling around trying to describe comedy.
Well, I also just like, to be honest with you, I haven't really engaged with George Carlin as much as I probably should, as someone who does care about the medium. But another person he really reminds me of is like Mark Maron, where like Mark Maron, I can't stand when he tries to do his comedy, and I can't stand when he talks like normally, and I don't really like his podcast, but I do really like him as an actor. Like there's something likable about him, like especially in Glow.
Dude,
he's so perfect for that
it's the most
role.
perfect usage of his exact character. He's amazing.
And George Carlin in Bill and Ted is like, okay, that's all that guy needs. That's more important than 7 Dirty Words.
Okay, so obviously this song, unfortunately, is not based on Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, nor is it based on Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. You will not hear the Grim Reaper's rap in this song. But it is based on this George Carlin bit.
So he actually says it straight up at the start of this one video that's on Reddit, which, again, and like I said, this has been posted on the Reddit like 20 different times. Everyone thinks they've discovered it for the first time. This unpopular, like, oh, I can't believe I'm, like, mind explosion. I just found this George Carlin thing. But here, I think he says it right off the top here.
Okay.
So the words, as I say, shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, and twat. Now,
there you go. I mean, that's right there.
Hell yeah, man.
I don't know why he added the 3, but people were like, oh, Blink added the 3, and then other people are like, no. He's opening another LaCroix. I'm just going straight up bad boy today.
You are so bad today, Josiah. So have
there's
Blink
no real...
ever talked about like why they did it though? Like, were they just like Carlin boys?
They've never talked about it, but it did apparently originate as like a song they were doing live for fun. But actually, before we talk about that, there's another piece of the puzzle here. This is an old video. It's an edit from the Urethra Chronicles. And I don't really know when it's from, but this is Mark. This predates the song Family Reunion, but here's Mark from the Urethra Chronicles.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
The thing I'm the most shocked by is that Mark Hoppus hasn't like leaned into this as like a weird, like, you know how if you are a frat guy and you are remotely good at like rapping quickly, you will do it at any opportunity, like every party, every dinner, every conversation, someone would be like, oh my God, did you realize that like this guy can do, the Alphabet Blackalicious song or whatever?
Oh my God, the Alphabet Blackalicious song, of course.
Because that's the only thing they know how to rap, but they can do it. And you're like,
yeah,
that's actually sort of, impressive and, dexterous or what have you. This seems like a thing that he probably should be doing, like he would have some sort of like super mashup of like Blink references and lyrics that he does like in the middle of the show. Because you know how the big thing about 2-hour stadium shows is there's like some songs and stuff, but then there's like 45 minutes in the middle where there's just like, and they're like, all right, everyone, we're here in Toronto for one night only. Give it up for the drummer, Travis. But it like keeps going, and there's like, and it's in the middle of a song somehow, and you're like, that's how you fill a fucking 2-hour set, is you just like do these horrible fucking, like, that seems like a thing that he should do, right?
He did used to like occasionally bust into little raps here and there. I think like, especially in the Scott era, he did it.
I'm just saying,
but maybe when Travis joined,
show.
He was like more of a true rap man and was like, yo, don't disrespect the medium.
Do you think that's it? Travis is like, it's honestly not cool.
You are right though. Like because when they play this song, it usually does result in a drum solo after.
Yeah.
Which is just like so corny. Ugh. But anyways, so it started off as like a live joke, apparently.
Okay.
And then another free speech Punisher type guy, Fat Mike, he apparently asked them to record it for the compilation Short Music for Short People.
Wow, I would love to talk about that compilation for 9 hours.
Yeah, do we want to? So, I think we can give up who our guest is this week because it's not.
It's a big secret, though.
Our good friend, our colleague, Mark Teo, swung by because he is. He's now the official compman of the pod.
Congratulations, Mark.
He recently wrote a book about Big Shiny Tunes, which we'll get into later for way too long. This is our first time both of us interviewing a guest at once, and it really just extends the runtime.
Yeah. I was like impressed that I thought we did pretty well. Like it was Mark and I were in person and you were on Skype, but like the conversation flowed, if anything, too well, and it's like 40 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
But it's all
God for-
good. It's all
God
great.
forbid we edit it down, but
Who can be bothered?
so Mark did that, and then as if that wasn't enough, we tried and failed to discuss all 101 songs from the Short Music for Short People compilation for exclusive.
Yeah.
So we made it through 1/3 of the comp. So you will get next week or whatever 33 songs discussed on exclusive, and then we'll finish the rest of them when Sam stops being mad at me about it.
Well, we got through the first 10 songs in an hour, and at that point I realized it was going to be 10 hours.
Yeah.
And then we sort of, it picked up the pace only a little bit. So we got through, it's going to be a trilogy. We did the first part. For anyone who, wasn't into that comp, it was an incredible 1999 compilation that featured all of the biggest and smallest, most important and most
They should have called it
forgettable-
All the Small Things.
And all of the songs were 30 seconds long. So there's 101 songs. It's got Blink. It's got Green Day. It's got the
It's
Misfits.
got,
it's got Black
all of
Flag. It's
punk.
got the Descendants. It's got Pennywise. It has No
It's
Effects.
got,
It has the Ataris.
Flogging Molly.
Yeah,
I think. And
probably it's got the Real Mackenzies. It's got Chicks
what's
Dig
that
It.
what's that other one called that we were so mad about?
I can't, dude. I don't know. We talked for so.
Let's do the
fucking-
whole exclusive again right now.
So this song, but of course the compilation was put up by Fat Records, and so Fat Mike had heard them. So I'm not aware of this. So Fat Mike had heard them do this song live, and then asked them to record
to
it
do
for
a
the
studio version.
for the comp. Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of it's interesting.
I
the
guess.
timing of it means that I think, and now some fucking nerd is going to get mad, but I feel like in my gut, and keep in mind I'm one of the people who made the ska joke song happen, but I feel in my gut that this is one of the first songs recorded with Travis ever.
I mean,
Because,
okay.
so he heard it and it was like, yo, do this studio version of the song for the compilation. That'll be funny. And then this is where the song becomes very funny to me again, because in addition to doing that, they're like, we got to promote this new album, Enema of the State, as well. So let's only send this song to radio as a promotional single. So Family Reunion was also released as a promotional CD that was sent to radio that obviously
Seriously?
couldn't possibly be played.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. So there's 2 for sale right now on Discogs for $43 Canadian at the lowest. But yeah, this is a super rare item. And yeah, I mean, that's hilarious.
Holy shit. Okay, cool. Well, we should get, if somebody wants to buy us a gift, we want to set up a Amazon wish list or whatever, like we're cam boys.
We basically are at this point.
This is, yeah. Well, I mean, we are literally going to be cam boys for the 1-year anniversary of Blink-155. That was a good transition, right?
Yeah, I
guess-
mean, I'm not done talking about the CD, but...
Okay, we'll keep going and then we'll promote it later.
Well, I just wanted to say, because this was... I mean, it's very, very, very funny that they did this, first of all. Second of all, if you look at this CD, it shows what could have been, which is, and this is just a minor quibble, but a much worse version of the Pill logo. Because it's a capital B, and then there's no hyphens, and it looks
Oh.
very janky.
It looks super janky.
It looks kind of like a bootleg.
Oh, yeah, that's so weird. Yeah, this looks like something that we would talk about on an episode, like some weird thing you found on Alibaba.net or whatever.
Yeah. But instead, it almost was the official art. I mean, I feel like even the kerning is all fucked up. I don't know
know.
too much about that, but
They dodged
it
a
looks-
bullet on this logo. It sucks.
It looks really bad.
Instead,
And then,
the Enema logo is the best Blink logo. Obviously, that is my opinion because that's what the artwork is for this podcast.
yeah, I almost agree, except they have this early 90s sticker from before they were Blink-182 that is just an anime girl that it just says Blink, and it's literally the hippest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, sick. Okay. But if we made that the podcast logo, no one would get it.
It's true.
And we wouldn't be attracting the, hundreds, dozens of dedicated fans that we have.
So anyways, they sent it to the radio as a promo single. I I mean,
Literally
that's
on the
just
CD
great.
is the 7 words you can't say on television, like just printed over and over and over again.
Yeah, I really do want to own this. I might have to buy it.
Yeah, and the back says, warning, may contain shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, and twat. That's funny. That's funny.
See, that's very funny. Written by Hoppus DeLong, produced and mixed by Jerry Finn. New album, June '99.
Okay. Fuck yes. Somebody buy this for us cam boys.
Yeah. So you keep saying Cam Boys. Tell them what you got.
Okay, well, here's what's going on, Josiah. So,
Hey Sam, is there any news we have for the nation?
there is actually. I'm glad you asked. So, I don't really understand this because this is episode 52 of the podcast.
Yeah.
Normally, there are 52 weeks in a year. Oh, I get it. So this is the 52nd
Yeah.
week.
This is the last
Oh.
week.
Okay, I get it now. I was really racking my brain. I was like, wouldn't this be the year? Turns out it's not that. So we launched this podcast a year ago next week. So if you listen to this podcast the day it came out, in a week, somehow we have been pursuing this foolish, oftentimes painful, alienating.
Definitely getting worse. The idea is getting much worse as it goes on.
We spent 3 hours talking about short music for short people over the long weekend. I was, I obviously record this at my house. You can hear all of the sounds of the street throughout the duration of the podcast. It's like a heat wave in Toronto right now. So it was in the 40s Celsius in my house. So Mark Teo and I are covered in ice packs, to try to get through this conversation. And I was like, this is so dumb. I'm in my 30s. I know people with children. Anyway, it's been a year of that. And so on July 13th, we are celebrating 1 fucking year of Blink-155. We're going to have a special guest on the pod. Or special documents. A special guest. It's a guest, not...
It's this is... People have been saying that I've been doing all of this big journalism by talking to the Garnier Fructis people and finding a would-be bomber and talking to him about Blink. But this is now Sam's time to shine because he's literally going to meet somebody, in my mind at least, in a darkened parkade.
Yeah, it's going to be like All the President's Men. I've bought a trench coat. I've hired Dustin Hoffman. It's very expensive. It's going to put me deeply, deeply in debt. And we're going to meet friend of the pod, Josh O'Kane. You may remember him from running in...
Bill Calls Him Mom all the time.
From criticizing... Well, to be honest, Bill should pay attention to the road while he's driving and not constantly be posting at us on Twitter. But
tweeting and driving is the world's greatest feeling, though.
So you and Bill belong together. Clearly, Josh O'Kane and I belong together. So he's chastised Bill Billingsley. He ran into my wife of the pod, Ashley, and ignored her. And he was listening to the podcast at the time and felt very strange about it, and so shared a moment. And he, of course, is a reporter, works for the Globe and Mail, Canada's paper of record. And a couple of months ago, I bumped into him at a show, and we were talking about the pod, and he, in a very quiet voice and hushed tone, started telling me about these documents he had uncovered, and that he wanted to come on the pod because he needed to share these documents, that he had used all of his real reporter skill and gumption and access to information to find these documents. But he was also very explicit that we had to meet in person because he wanted to slide them across the table to me. And so as you and I were debating what to do for the 1 year anniversary, and we were should we try to get mutual friends to do we get someone to DM Mark Hoppus and try to get Mark Hoppus on the pod? Do we try to exploit what I think is our third degree connections to Matt Skiba and get him on the pod? And Josiah, you were I think a member of the band is too obvious, which is very funny because that would be pretty sick.
I mean, also, I guess something I should also confess is that for the last year, I've been emailing Tom DeLonge's publicist every 3 days.
And also Scott's new band.
Yeah.
So you've been doing your part. But then I said, what if we unveiled the documents? So for the 1 year anniversary of Blink-155,
we're going full journalism, baby. Pint in the Pageman. We'll see you there for pints after.
It's going to get pinty. It's going to get pagey. That said, you and I don't know what these documents are, and so if the episode bombs and fucking sucks, it is Josh O'Kane's fault. And so we all agree.
I feel like Josh O'Kane is up on the pod enough that he hopefully knows what we already know. But if the document says that like Mark Hoppus helped capture Saddam Hussein or whatever,
it's going to be that. It's going to be a printout of a tweet that's like, did you know Tom started a agency with several high-ranking members of the CIA to research time travel and UFOs? And I'll tell him to get the fuck out of my house, but the 1-year anniversary will be ruined. There'll be nothing we can do about it. So the documents will be unveiled on July 13th. The documents are just going to be Josiah's address on July 13th. And to really celebrate, because, I mean, jokes aside, like, it's fucking hilarious that we've been doing this for a year. You've never missed a week. You've been traveling and you've recorded episodes like in Amsterdam. You did all the small things on your own. I've fuck off constantly. Mm-hmm. But to celebrate Josiah's dedication to the pod, we will also be doing a live stream. We decided you're sort of quietly into Twitch. I've never spent much time on it.
Twitch is more something that I was into when I was a heavy drinker. I would just get really drunk and watch a lonely man play Euro Trucker, like this game where you do truck deliveries in real time.
Oh, is it like a Desert Bus?
I think so. Yeah, it's like you just like drive trucks. Like you just drive trucks around Europe.
That's awesome.
And I would be the only guy watching this man stream in his mom's kitchen.
Oh, fuck.
And I would be drunk. It seemed really funny and ironic at the time, but I think it's deeply depressing.
I'm really glad you stopped drinking, Josiah. I think that's a very positive change in your life. And so in celebration of 1 year of Blink-155 and Josiah's sobriety, I think probably around 8 Eastern time, we've got a Blink-155 Twitch thing set up. It's going to just be us. Who fucking knows? But you and I will be on, and then we're going to like go through, I think, some of the greatest hits, the visual hits, because I am constantly criticizing you for sharing.
You could end the sentence there. You're constantly criticizing me.
Right. But one of the many things that I criticize you for, of course, is sharing visual jokes on an audio medium. And so we will be ascending into a new plane of production with video.
We're going tubing.
Going tubing, but on Twitch. So, again, I'll put a link in the description. We'll post about it on socials. I don't know if that'll be it, probably.
What else would you do? Like
make a Facebook event or something?
One of those airplanes that does skywriting?
Yeah, I'm going to get...
how much does that cost?
Let's look into it.
How hard would it be to put Dude Ranchers Come over Mark Hoppus' house?
Well, I don't know if you ever watched Kenny versus Spenny. Mm-hmm. But skywriters won't write just anything in the sky. So there's an episode where the challenge was who can offend the most people, and Kenny won by having a plane go up in the sky in Toronto and write "Jesus sucks," which he only was able to accomplish by telling the pilot that it was a prank, a bachelor party prank for his friend Jesus. So I don't know that you could literally make a skywriter write "come" in the sky. Especially in a I guess whatever the smoke is that they use, because it's pretty Dude Ranchy already.
Well, that's kind of like to say something is come, especially if you spelled it COME, then it could be kind of like Old English. Like I feel like I've seen sentences like that.
Right.
Like it just means Dude Ranch has arrived.
Yeah. Well, see, it's part of our Renaissance fair. It's just very important. We're sort of transitioning into the Wild West, where there are dude ranches. So July 13th, okay. 1 year, we'll be on Twitch. I don't know. I'll be drinking. You'll be drinking something other than LaCroix, because by then, hopefully, you will have gotten into a less problematic beverage.
I'm just hoping I'm hoping it's a lie. Yeah. I'm hoping Coca-Cola planted that story.
Yeah, that's true. To sabotage corporate espionage, and that'll be our Friday night. That'll be how we celebrate 1 year anniversary of doing this. Is watching all the shit that Josiah has made me watch that I've had to describe, maybe some new stuff. Who knows? It'll be weird, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun, and I might even see if some friends want to come over and sit around the old Twitch screen with me.
You should see if Marsden, because Marsden lives in Calgary, right?
Yeah.
The merch pundit?
Yeah, he might want to come over, and then maybe Sarah will pop in for a bit, and my friend Carl, who is like the ultimate my tubing buddy. He might be down. I'll see if anyone wants to come sit around the old computer.
Twitcherino. So I think it'll be, no matter what, like, we're going to have fun. Like, I'm definitely stoked. I've had it blocked off on my calendar. I've turned down many exciting Summer Friday invitations. Said, nope.
Yeah,
it's the 1 year
me too.
anniversary of my Blink-182 podcast.
I don't know if you can tell, but
stream.
I'm very busy
Right.
with things outside of this podcast. I've got a lot going on.
Yeah,
So.
everyone knows. Yeah, I'm very excited. I can't fucking believe it's been a year. We are fortunate that people have been stoked about this podcast.
Two
And
more to go.
now I'm sad again, but I think it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And a quick side note about Marsden, the merch
Of the side note.
of the side note, which is about Marsden, the merch pundit, which is like, he was just like going off on like several tangents, I think, about the pod and Blink last night on Twitter, and at one point used the phrase ranch in me while in a sort of dude ranch conversation with himself, and I thought it was the funniest thing that has ever been written on Twitter, and I just wanted to shout him out for that, so thank you.
I just ranched a little bit while he said that. Yeah, well, let's get back to how the 7 dirty words is not funny. Just to put a pin in
Yes.
that part, because I had this note here, and this is just what I'm talking about. Like, there are so many layers of why this is frustrating. So first of all, this Reddit user thinks that Tosh.0 was referencing the song Family Reunion when he listed the 7 dirty curse words on his piece of shit show Tosh.0 earlier this year.
Yeah, so this is a Reddit user, the comeback kid 262. I can't read numbers.
629.
And it's like a screen cap of him doing it. And it has 16 upvotes, which means there's at least, I guess, 16 people on the Blink-182 subreddit who are dumb.
And, like, honestly, I have not spent more than, I would say, a accumulated total of 90 seconds with Daniel Tosh in my life. Mm-hmm. But I already know that I fucking loathe him. And then to see this hoodie that he's wearing with these shredded sleeves, I'm just so upset. It is mortifying.
Yeah, he's bad. I have like a close friend who like genuinely thinks that Tosh.0 is very funny, and it's like a sort of real barrier to our friendship, you know? Where you're just
And I'm not above like fail videos or like honestly, this is a real embarrassing confession. I watched the new Joel McHale show on Netflix.
Wow.
While I'm on the elliptical, because I just want to see some fucked up videos. I'll put up with a douchey host if there's some good videos.
I kind of think Joel McHale's pretty like funny, to be honest. Of course, I
But
do.
Tosh is like,
Yeah.
like who let this guy where he is? Not only that, the fact that this misinformation is making people think that it's this clever Blink reference is frustrating. The fact that people are correcting it and trying to be the first one to correct it is frustrating. But then the whole shit circle is completed with the fact that Tosh.0 is trying to show off that he's a comedy head by doing this, I think. He's trying to like tip his hat to the world of comedy.
Right. Do you feel like this is like, you know, you're in a pop punk band and you're like, all right, we're going to do a cover, and then you do like a Circle Jerks cover instead of a Descendants cover, and it's like,
Yeah.
we listen to hard shit too, man.
It's like being an MTV host and wearing a black metal shirt.
No one knows what you're talking about, Josiah. Let's move right along.
I know, I'm the same way, obviously, but I just think that in this disgusting comedy context, this just depresses me.
Yeah, well, I mean, everything about Tosh.0 depresses me as well, so like we're cool. And so do you think we spent enough time talking about the George Carlin part of this song now?
Yeah, I do, but it is weird that they've never like. Then it's kind of weird because it's like, are they also doing this Tosh hat tip, or are they trying to get away with that? They just like stole it, or was it just in Mark's subconscious because he had watched it and forgotten about it, and then he rapped it on stage?
That's what it's got to be that, where you're just like, it's a funny, like, and again, I think there's like a rhythm to, it's not the order isn't random. Like, you can't reorder them, right? And so I think that it's like an understanding that there's sort of a natural cadence to sort of what George Carlin built. You start rapping it, all of a sudden it's funny to sing it. Like I can understand how it evolves. I don't think it's necessarily like a real conscious fucking tip for the heads, you know?
Well, yeah, I also do think the order is kind of strange. And so I guess... Sorry, bumped my mic out of my ear.
Out of your
I
ear?
guess-
What are you recording with now?
I speak to you on earbuds.
Right.
So I bumped it out, and then I thought, oh, Sam's gonna think that something's happened to me, so I need to address it here.
I'm never
So then I
worried
said I
about
bumped
you,
my
Josiah.
mic
If
out
you
of my
ever
ear.
think I'm worried about you, I'm not.
Then I said I bumped my mic out of my ear, referring to the mic that I'm speaking to you with,
Right,
not
not
the
the
mic that I'm
nation.
recording with.
Okay.
We're a year into this, and I'm still using the worst setup known
It's
to me.
so elaborate. Like, I don't understand.
I like it. I like my MacGyver setup.
Yeah.
But I guess knowing that it was George Carlin put them this way, and yeah, you're right. Rhythmically, it works, but I just find the severity of the words to be kind of in a strange order.
But again, I certainly don't know enough about comedy, and now we're like, I'm consistently out of my depth on this podcast, but this is like a really good example of it. I think that's probably part of what's funny about it, right? Like, piss is like certainly not as offensive as the words that it's like bracketed by, and that's
Well,
sort of.
but in
part
like
of,
the 1940s when this came out, they might have been considered as offensive.
there's no like if you were a kid. Did you go to the 1940s?
I didn't want to click the other tab where I have it open.
If you're like a young chimney sweep and you say "pace" in front of your mom, like that's one thing. And if you say "fuck," that's a whole other thing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's just. I think we should give each word its own sort of reverence. So
Okay.
let's start with shit. How do you feel about that word, shit?
Great word.
Like, let's forget George Carlin altogether. Let's just talk about it.
Okay, I mean,
Shit is good. I kind of think functionally, if you're going to announce that you're going to do that, then you should say shit. Like, if you say, like, I have to crap, that's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And gross. And definitely no adult should say poop. And that's definitely what some, like, fucking terrible Twitter person would do. Like, say it. Poop instead of
Yeah.
shit. You just have to. Shit is kind of the only option, I think.
if you're like a doggo person, you're probably a poop person. But I think shit is the only adult way to describe the act of shitting.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's kind of, I like how shit in my lifetime has become mostly uncensored on TV, actually.
Well-
It's kind of like, it's the one that I've gotten to see as I get older. Like, I've kind of grown with shit.
I mean, there's like there's a great South Park episode about that, right? Where they finally say shit on the show, and it's in the context of them saying shit on a show within the show. And it's like such anticipation about them finally saying shit on television. Shit is like kind of okay now. And I like
Yeah.
that because it's still got like bite to it. Shit's a great sounding word coming out of your mouth. To be in shit, taking a shit is like good. Being in shit is bad, you know. Exclaiming shit is bad, but like, I had an amazing shit. Like, they're like, oh, I'm happy for you.
Yeah, okay. I think we've covered the word shit.
Yep.
Let's move on to piss.
Piss I don't like.
I do like it, but more in like a funny, like British, like saying "piss off, mate."
Yeah, it feels
Or, like,
very
you know,
British.
like it's funny in that way. I feel like when someone says I have to take a piss, that is too far.
Yeah.
I feel like saying I have to take a shit is good, but saying I have to take a piss is
I agree.
too far. It's like too gross.
It makes me think of someone saying, I gotta rock a piss. And you're like, what? Which is
Yeah.
like certainly a phrase that like came out of my mouth like in college and probably
Yeah.
a year ago. But
and
I think it's
probably
bad.
like 15 minutes ago.
I rocked a piss right before we recorded the pod, bro.
Yeah, piss, I don't know, but I do. That also makes it kind of good because it's not like a safe, like it's still gross enough that it works well in this song.
Well, yeah, despite being ostensibly the least cussy cuss in the song and in the bit, it elicits at least the most discomfort in me personally. I think about this idea of like you pissed yourself, you know, like it smells like piss in here. Like that's when something smells like piss. It's so gross.
And saying smells like piss, I get this like visceral reaction as you say it.
Which I honestly feel is more true with piss. It's like, it smells like shit. You're like, oh, yeah, it sucks, you know?
Yeah,
It smells like
because
piss?
saying
Oh,
it smells like
God.
shit is sort of a general describing it smelling bad, whereas smelling like piss is a specific
Yeah.
horrible thing.
And then you're like,
Now-
why is the piss here? Like, it raises so
This-
many questions.
It kind of also makes me think that like maybe they should have the word piss on the stage behind them.
Yeah.
That'd be so
It
good.
would be sick. Okay, well, we should maybe make the suggestion.
All right, let's get to Old Faithful. Fuck.
The Godhead. I mean, what can be said that hasn't already been said? It's the best word.
Yeah, I think it's almost just like too omnipresent now that you can't. It really has no. I'm kind of surprised that you're not allowed to say it on TV. Honestly,
Yeah.
it bears no power. Like, truly, everyone my age is not offended by it, right?
Yeah, it's sort of funny to think of a time where it would be offensive. I still don't say it around my parents. I know they are not fans, but I'm sure it's like escaped my lips, which is funny because
One time, Sarah was out a few years ago, and she forgot her wallet, and she texted me like, "Oh fuck, I forgot my fucking wallet," and she had accidentally sent it to her dad, and he never replied. They just never spoke of it.
that's really funny. Yeah, I mean, it's also just such a great filler word. Like, I feel like I say fuck as much as I say like, or you know. Especially
Yeah.
in very casual conversation. I'm just like, it's fucking that, it's fucking that. And I get that it's like bad, but it's also so
Well,
good.
people say that like you shouldn't. I still hear people say like I'm trying not to swear as much because I feel like it makes me sound unintelligent. But first of all, sounding unintelligent is cool as hell.
Yes.
And saying fuck is even cooler.
Hell yeah.
So fuck you.
Yep. Moving right along.
So this one I want to give a little shout out to the official Australian of the pod,
Mm-hmm.
Maddie Rendell, because as you were telling me today you enjoyed, he recently went to Indonesia and literally interviewed Indonesian people about pop punk for us.
He went to like the punk bar in Bali and interviewed like the sound guy about Blink-182, and you could hear them playing Neighborhoods in the background.
Yeah, so that's a new exclusive that we just did with the official Australian of the pod, who has also like really popularized the C word with our Twitter fan base.
Yeah, he's
because
really-
he's
he's
Australian,
freed
and
them.
in
He's freed
Australia
them.
that just means like you probably say that to your mom on Christmas morning, like I love you. You know?
Yeah, I think I messaged this to you, which was like listening to that exclusive, which is great. Was like there's been a lot of like strange moments over the last year, but the fact that I was listening to an episode of our Blink-182 podcast that I was not in, and there was an Australian guy that I've never met who's been on the podcast before, interviewing like Indonesian punks in Indonesia. And that was like an episode of our podcast. I was like, what a strange and beautiful journey. Like, it's a hilarious episode. It's so funny, but also like that's fucking nuts, man. Like it's
I know. It keeps getting weirder. Like honestly, when something insane doesn't happen, I feel a bit depressed now every couple days.
Yeah, but like-
I need something I need like the guy from Imagine Dragons to randomly become my best friend every couple days.
yeah, we're also a little disappointed. And so that was just like I had a real like true what the fuck moment listening to that episode. Sort of just enjoying it and not thinking about it, and then was like, this is a thing that like we've been doing for a year. So shout outs Maddie, the Australian of the pod, and all of the staff at Twice in Bali, the punk bar that he goes to where he interviews people about Blink-182.
Yeah, but I will say the C word is very weighty, I guess. It's very loaded, right?
Yeah.
It is one that people still get very upset by, and it's obviously very like heavy in terms of being gendered in a way, at least
Yeah.
in North America.
That's
And
what's
so
like,
I've
it's like
noticed-
the B word like that, right? Where it's like there's no real equivalent word for dudes.
Except it's also just so satisfying to
I
say,
know.
especially like if you like pass someone on Mario Kart, you can't not call them bitch. Like you have to.
What?
It just feels so
That's
good.
Mario Kart rules. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's in the rule book.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the C word is very interesting and strange because in like other countries, it's totally a normal word. It's like almost formal. It's like saying sir. But then
I think you're maybe misunderstanding other cultures, but yeah, it is basically sir or ma'am.
But I don't know. So it's kind of, I guess that's the most loaded to me. Maybe not.
Well, it depends on how we want to interpret the next word. It's a word that I have certainly said. I have enough friends listen to this podcast that I can't lie, but it's one that like I would definitely think twice about saying with any regularity. I guess it's just
like
so
I don't really
loaded.
want to say it right now. And also, I feel like if you said it, then it would be quoted on Twitter.
Yeah, I just like know that we have like multiple no context quote accounts that find the most horrid thing that I've said every week and parrot it back to me with sort of startling clarity.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's strange. That's probably where if someone got offended, they would be wise to play the George Carlin card.
Yes, absolutely. I'm just a real comedy fan.
But the next one is kind of. I'm gonna be honest with everyone. We already recorded the guest spot.
Yeah.
Even though we pretended we didn't. Later on, there's going to be some trickery.
We fooled you.
We fooled you. We're telling you that before you get fooled, so that you can go into it with clarity. But you brought this up somewhere in the 8 hours we were talking to Mark. Mm-hmm. You brought up the weightedness of this one, which I had never really considered before.
Well, I think it's like a latecomer to words that maybe we shouldn't use. And, my general attitude towards language is like, if someone from, and I'll be very clear, and I'm going to say the word, like, I think that cocksucker is like not a gendered word, nor do I think it's a like, in any way that I've ever interpreted it or thought of it. And, I talk about this, but if you don't make it to the like 39th hour of this podcast, I think of like the Rolling Stones. And to me, it's just like this really like sharp, caustic, but I've never thought of it in specifically homophobic terms. However, there clearly are people that do think of it as a homophobic slur, and I think over the last couple of years, people have really started to say like, no, it's clearly homophobic. It's clearly if you're a dude saying it to another dude, that's what you're saying, and I'm like, okay, that's reasonable. And again, this sort of the larger point that I'm sort of fumbling around making is that like when it comes to any language, I have always sort of tried to approach language as like if someone from another group of people that ostensibly could potentially be labeled by that word tells you the word's not cool, then the word's not cool. And it's that thing about like because we are in a like we're sort of evolving at such a rapid pace that you often see probably people who love Bill fucking Hicks being like, oh, I can't keep up with it anymore. I'm like, well, do your best and just fucking listen to people.
Yeah.
That's all
like,
you can
soon
do.
We're not going to be able to say the 7 words you can't.
and like, that's
hey,
okay.
More like the 7 words you can't say on fucking Twitter.
Right.
Am I right?
Hey.
The fucking PC police come after you.
Hey. I'm not saying anything because I don't want the Twitter accounts to quote me.
That was Sam who said that stuff.
So yeah, I think this is a word, like there was a thing like a year ago where I remember just like seeing some stuff on my feed about there was like an athlete who called another athlete this word in the heat of a game and like had to apologize for saying, but all those reports are just like, so-and-so called so-and-so a homophobic slur. And you're like, oh. And then eventually I was like, oh, the slur was this word. And you're like, people like literally weren't printing it. And that's when I was like, okay, cool. That's not, I get it. That's not a word that,
yeah. Well, it's funny because I never would have thought of that, but you can't historically imagine a woman being called this term. Like, it's probably never happened.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. Well, and that's it.
So,
I think it's like maybe it's just always been that loaded, and I was like,
it's gay panic.
dumb.
And the funny thing is, this phrase does make me think of like this insanely stupid Jimmy Fallon sketch on SNL where they were like cork suckers or something. They were like worked in a winery and they were working with corks and they kept saying something that sounded like cork sucker, and of course he broke laughing like 20 times.
Not Jimmy
and
Fallon.
It was so stupid that I enjoyed it. But then it also reminded me of how, like, for literally all of SNL until maybe the last 6 months, every single sketch, or not every sketch, but every episode has had a sketch that, like, either ends with two guys kissing and everyone laughs, or just, like, gay panic humor.
Yeah, I cannot believe, like, I like, if I'm home on a Saturday, I will totally watch SNL. I'm, like, a very sort of casual but lifelong fan. And the, like, gay panic shit on that show in, like, 2018 is, like, kind of astonishing.
It's crazy.
But yeah, so this word again, it's like it's got so many consonants. Like, it's such a fucking awesome word. It sounds so good, and we just can't say it anymore, and that's fine.
I mean, I don't particularly like how it sounds. I don't think I've
Really?
ever called anyone that. It's like,
I don't think I've ever called
it's
anyone
too
that,
much
but
of a. It feels too much like George Carlin to me. It sounds like you're trying to be like this bad boy,
right.
70s bad boy. Like, I don't know. It's just not really my vibe.
It's also it is dated as a swear, and I like that because I'm an awful person, I guess. But no, it's just it's not a word that we should use, and that's obviously totally cool.
Yeah. So I hope all of our listeners enjoyed that. The ones who complain about us being SJWs.
Yep, that's gonna
And
be
Sam, you can cash in your congratulations points after we're done.
hell yes. I love it.
That's all you
I
want.
am a good ally.
Motherfucker. Now this is an interesting one. I just quietly typed this up. It was probably extremely loud while you were talking, but I looked it up because I was curious the history of it, actually. I mean, it's not very often that, like, these insults are predicated on, like, extreme incest, but this also makes it a very Blink-182 insult.
Yeah.
But I was curious where it started. So, according to Wikipedia, the word dates back to at least the late 19th century. In an 1889 Texas murder case, a witness testified that the victim had called the defendant a goddamned motherfucking bastardly son of a bitch shortly before his death. Was that like some like Hank Williams 3 lyrics or something? And then a later court document printed the word motherfucking in full, like 9 years later.
I mean, that's
And then in 1917, a black U.S. soldier called his draft board, "You low down motherfuckers." And then Norman Mailer did it in 1948. And then from there on, it just kind of like went everywhere.
I mean, it's great. All that sounds so good.
Yeah,
I mean, there's this whole
but
thing,
where did
right?
that come from?
Well, because
I guess
they say that, you know, culturally swear words are always built upon the thing that a society fears the most, right? So in Quebecois culture, all of the swears are about the church because it's a super Catholic province. The Quebecois are, of course, the French Canadians for people not literally from Canada. And the Catholic Church is very powerful and influential there still. And so all of their cusses are church-related. And it's very telling in sort of English North American culture that all of the swears, for the most part, are related to sex and bodily functions, right? Because those are the things that were made to sort of feel shame and about and be afraid of. And so I think the motherfucker thing is just like an extra kind of cherry on top, which is like this sort of like Oedipal thing. It's Oedipus, right? That's the one?
eat a puss. Yeah.
Yeah. So this just like added thing that like, no, the thing you're truly afraid of isn't just, or like that you know, whatever, that's sort of deeply buried in your subconscious, isn't just that you want to fuck and shit. It's that you want to fuck your mom and shit. And so I feel like it's just like leveling up. And in that sense, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. It does. Again, I feel like if I ever said this, I would feel kind of pretentious or like I was being a character. Like, it's just not something I would ever say, I don't think.
Yeah.
But
No, I don't think it's ever come out of my mouth. I've never been like, like, it's weird to say.
Yeah, it's like, it seems kind of scripted or something.
Yeah,
it's natural. You don't stub your toe and say, motherfucking belly aching, whatever that Texas thing was. I don't know. Just not really.
I can see you stubbing your toe and yelling, motherfuck. That seems possible.
I don't think. I don't know. To me, that seems very like a bacon metal bro kind of thing.
Right. Well, look.
I just say fuck.
That's
just clean, simple.
to the point. Certainly, that doesn't sound like the Josiah Hughes that I know.
Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe in normally so proper and other words that would be good synonyms of that on here. But not quite the guy that you expect outside of this
That's a surprise.
podcast.
Yep. So that's
Tit.
good. Oh, great word.
It's good. I really do, and I've never really looked at it written for so long, and it looks really nice, and I love that it's a palindrome.
Yes.
And not enough. There's not enough. Is this the only like rude word that's a palindrome?
Oh, hold on.
Boob. Also,
How are both of those words palindromes?
no, that's good.
Rudest palindromes. I guess they're palindromes because the things that they're describing are sort of palindromes themselves, I guess. Do you think that's intentional?
Wow,
They're like chestodromes.
that's really good.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But it is, the thing I like about that is it feels a little like saucy, but it's used across genders. Like everyone's like very, like it's not like a word that like only dudes use. Like it's not like a male gazy word. It's like a very...
No, it almost is. It at least from our warped perspective, I guess we don't like. Obviously, we can't speak on that behalf, but I do feel like this is sort of a word that like humanizes the breast more in a way. Like because people are always like, "Oh, I got my tit caught in the seatbelt" or whatever. They're not saying like, "My buxomous, voluptuous breasts glistened as the seatbelt," like whatever. It's kind of like a. It seems like it's humanizing in a way.
Yeah, like the idea that that the breast needs to be humanized.
No, I mean in terms of what is that? There was an article or something recently about the way that male writers write about women and describe their bodies, and it's like the opposite of that to me. It's just
Yes,
like very
that's totally
like
fair. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
yeah. Don't trap me, please.
I'm sorry, man. Okay.
Don't put me in your tit trap.
Fart.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've already talked about this word at length. On the podcast.
Listen to the last 51 episodes of the podcast. We've talked about fart before.
This is where you first started saying that. This was the time that you said the subtext is the text, when everyone was like, "Ooh, that's deep."
And now I've just discovered that it's a Buffy reference that was deeply buried in my subconscious.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, my feelings change on it all the time. I mean, fart is kind of also the only functional word that you can use, other than when people say toot, it's really embarrassing and gross, but good.
Well,
also,
if you say toot, you probably say poop. And
yeah, unless you're saying toot on purpose to be irritating, which is good.
yeah, all of the rules change if you're trying to annoy someone, but
Yeah, because when you say the word toot, you are making that person hear the actual feeling of smelling a fart. Like it's like the same cringe.
yeah.
So in that sense, it's good. But I think fart, I mean, it's much worse when people say like, "Oh, I have gas" or something.
Oh, yeah, that's bad. No, look, like a fart sounds like a fart. It's a hilarious word. It's funny from the second you learn it until, I mean, I can say with confidence, at least you're 33. I hope it's funny till I die. And I'm just grateful for everything that farts, both the word and the thing, have given me.
All right, that's fair. Now, turd, I think, is actually good. I think it's a good word.
Oh, yeah, turd in the punch bowl. Like,
and it's, I wonder if, like, so you think this is George Carlin? Oh wait, so these last three were ones that were added after. It's in that video that I played, but I don't know why he added them. I don't know why he like added these three sort of more benign ones. Is that the point?
Maybe these were like the sort of, you build on the works of the masters. We're all just sort of standing on the shoulders of giants, but we're still adding to the height of the giant by standing on his shoulders, and that's what they're doing.
It's just, okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
turd is a good word. I think it's fun to like call your pet a little turd or things like that. Well, it's not like for some reason it maybe, and also some of this stuff is relative probably. Like people who say poop probably think that me calling my cat a little turd is gross, maybe.
Yeah. I also think turd is, the word responsible for one of my favorite, Norm Macdonald jokes, which is Turd Ferguson. Which is
right.
great Celebrity Jeopardy joke. So
It's true, and it sounds nice. It looks really funny because it has a U, where I feel like
Oh,
it
yeah.
definitely shouldn't have a U.
yeah, totally. It's an unreasonable you.
And finally, twat.
Again, with the kind of like very English, right? Like I don't think that word has ever escaped my lips.
I really don't like it, and I think I talk about this later on, but yeah, it grosses me out. It seems like I feel like a frat bro would say it if they're doing some sort of like I can't quite figure out what I'm trying to describe, but something about this word in an American context seems really gross to me, and I just really don't like it.
Yeah, it's just like
Oh, I know what it is, I think. Wait.
okay, go for it.
What is that? What? No, you talk for a second.
Okay, you look it up. It's just like it's a word that's so English. It feels like you're doing English cosplay, and you know, as I'm sort of robbing a joke that a friend of the pod, Daniel Halberton, has been doing for at least the last 24 hours of like my culture is not your costume. Like I feel like if I was an English person, I would feel like Americans don't get like we have so many other words that just like that one just is so definitively English. That if you're an American saying it, you're trying to make some kind of point or do some kind of impression. And unless you're doing a good impression, I'm not here for it.
Yeah, and also I was wrong, but it does, even though it's not what I'm thinking of, for some reason the word twat reminds me of that horribly annoying viral video of that guy who interrupted the news to say, fuck her right in the pussy. Oh. And then people started doing that all the time and like interrupting female news hosts to like do this very irritating, annoying troll thing.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I feel like in the same way, maybe in like the comment sections of these, because I'm in all these horrible Facebook groups with just like the most absolute disgusting people, and I feel like some of them might use a word like that. It seems like the kind of word that you can get away with a little bit in a way that's like makes it so much grosser and used by the worst people.
Yeah, totally agree.
So that's the lyrics. And there's still so much to get through.
Are you fucking kidding me? I thought you did that because you didn't have anything else or something.
No, I just really thought we needed to give it the gravity it deserved. But the lyrics have been printed on multiple Blink-182 shirts as well. I don't know if you've seen this one. Somebody also made like a kid's version of the shirt. So, and this makes it even worse. Like this is so upsetting.
Oh, I hate this.
So this dad is wearing a shirt with the actual Blink lyrics. And then okay, let's see if we can read them all. So his little kid, this should count as, I mean, the other weird thing is I still am offended by this. Even though I don't think swears are a big deal, I'm still offended that he's like wearing this shirt around his kid and making his kid wear this.
I think it's like, look, I don't have kids. I assume that what I do, I'll probably swear around them a little bit. But this is like showy, cool dad stuff. And I think it's gross and weird.
I can't read the middle section, but okay. So it says poop, pee, fudge, clam, which is awful. And then something instead of cocksucker. I can't read it. And then I think it's... I can't read the middle part. But then boobs, toot, crap, and taco. I love my mom. Instead of I fuck your mom.
This
So
guy
first of
made
all-
these shirts.
Yeah, I know. But Blink did sell a shirt that was like that bottom one with the actual lyrics.
But so he made the shirt for his kid.
Yeah, definitely. It's just like absolutely disgusting. And to say taco is like some like fucking season 7 Family Guy shit. Like, just don't do that. It's like fucking Quagmire shit. It's awful. And then I just think also putting this, again, the layers of like shittiness of this, putting the original lyrics on a shirt that you sell to like bros is just so bad. It's so corny.
I'm so distressed by this. I mean, at least the kid has like those big like earmuffs on. So like, you know, this person probably sucks, but they're not damaging their child's hearing, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, but then it is like a total edgelord thing. Like people like talk about like getting in trouble at school or accidentally texting it to their parents. Someone has a video of their mom reading it. I'm going to play that actually.
No,
they got their mom to
great.
read the shirt, and it's just like, I mean, it is funny in that she said, please don't get this out anywhere, and now we're going to play it on the pod. So that's good, at least.
Yeah.
But
Wait, go. What does it say, Ma? What does it say?
Shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, and twat. I fucked your mom. Bad. Don't you publicize that anywhere. Funny, huh? Isn't that funny?
Love them.
That's why I love Tom.
well, that is why she loves Tom, at least.
I mean, yeah, so this is like a Christmas gift for this woman. So, it takes all types, man.
Yeah, I guess that's true. If it's a Christmas, that's kind of funny if it's a Christmas gift, but
But I also, I can see now where when we started this podcast, I was like, this song's great. Like, I hate the song now.
yeah. Another thing, I truly am not going to play this, but you can look at it if I can find it in all of my notes.
It's cool. I won't.
Somebody did here it is. They did a YouTube prank where they went to Walmart or somewhere. Yeah, Walmart, and they queued up the song on all of the internal speakers there and played it, and it's like this epic prank, except that they filmed it on a GoPro, and around the 1.5 minute mark, they're like, the GoPro camera's waterproof case makes the audio way too quiet. You could hear it in the whole store. Like, this entire video is basically silent. but it's like an epic prank where they fucking
Playing our music at Walmart prank. Oh, Jesus Christ.
And there's no one even around. Like, oh.
Well, this is the problem,
Man.
right? And like, swearing is so good. Fuck is so funny and great to say. But it's not like a substitute for like actual humor or having something like actually cutting, to say or to do. And it's not like in and of itself subversive. And I think that's the problem is when you like mistake just like because I think and this is the argument I think that maybe we're trying to kind of circle around earlier. Like if you were doing stand-up comedy at a time where you could literally go to jail for saying fuck, like that's interesting and a sort of like, a societal norm worth sort of pushing and exploring in a comedic way, and that's fine. But like it's 2018 and you can do fucking anything in public and on television and on the fucking internet. And so like just swearing is not enough. I mean, it hasn't been for years.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I also think maybe it's kind of like what we were talking about with irony, whenever that was. Like, swearing is just like an aesthetic addition to something that should also have substance to it, maybe. Yeah,
totally. Like, if you add a good, like, all those motherfucker quotes that you had earlier were, like, legitimately, like, kind of fun. Like, the dude to the draft board thing. Like, that was like and then you drop in a motherfucker, and all of a sudden, like, it's kind of sick. But, like,
well, yeah, this will support your argument, and I fully agree, because this actually is very funny. Somebody named Destructible Cow, which is not funny, they uploaded this to YouTube, and it's a clean version of the song.
This
is a lot funnier.
That's so
that's
good.
Funnier.
That's
funnier.
Really funny. Oh, that's I remember like I don't think he's a friend, but I don't think he's a friend of the pod.
Fuck him.
Yeah, so who cares? But he's often talked about like growing up listening to like hip hop, and because like you started like as a kid hearing it on the radio, you always heard the clean versions, and that like when he actually got records, he like preferred the clean versions because they'd have like some other slightly more creative thing that you had to do, whether it was like finding a different word that was often like a curious replacement or a weird sound effect, like a backwards fucking, vocal sample. And that's fair. Like sometimes like the absence of swearing, like, look, there's a reason. I think we've talked about Weird Al a bit on this podcast, and I feel like we're both appreciators.
Oh yeah.
Weird Al is fucking hilarious with no swearing. And that's actually, like, kind of impressive, all things considered, when I don't know that I think a lot of things without swearing are funny anymore.
Right. I know. I totally agree, but unfortunately, I'm going to bring you down from your high now.
Thanks, man. Okay, let's do it.
Because this absolute fucking dork, he did a similar sort of thing, but he takes songs with swearing in them and then like replaces the words with autocorrect. It's really, I mean, even this still on what I just sent you is really frustrating to look at.
It's even the thumbnail, because it's like a guy like looking aghast at his phone, and it says "duck you" on his phone clearly. Looks so much like that Rob Wishman joke of like, I want to be one of those YouTubers where all the thumbnails are this, and it's him making this face going, "Uber driver sucked me off."
It looks exactly like
Which,
that.
like, I cannot be on YouTube without thinking of that absolutely note perfect fucking joke.
Yeah, like unfortunately, the edginess of the song has made it a favorite among tubers. But yeah, so I'll play you this, and this is proof that it can also be not funny without swearing as well.
Shut pizza full, can't cook, suckered mother, fuller tips, factored and that. Shut past fuel count, clock, sicker mother, former ties, fast turn and that's. Ship picks, feck, cut, cockpit, Zuckerberg, mothers, funder, time, fart, turds, and Twitter. I filled your mom.
Yeah, it's very YouTubey, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of extreme face emotions. What is that called when you? Oh, that's like a Tyra Banks thing, I think. When you like smile
Smize.
without smiling.
You smize.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Come on.
People do that on YouTube, though. I feel like a lot.
No one is smizing. They are like smiling with their whole face. They're smacing.
That guy's like eyebrows are doing all the work in here. Like it's all YouTube eyebrow. I mean, ugh, that was awful. And also, autocorrect was funny maybe like 30 years ago or something.
This is from 2017.
Oh, God. And then finally with the YouTube thing, I'm just going to show you this one. Actually, again, it's very cliche, but it's kind of funny. Like, you know, is there a name for when people are like family reunion, but every time this happens, it gets faster or whatever?
Oh, yeah,
Like,
I don't
do
know.
they have a name for that, or is it just kind of like a trope of YouTube?
Yeah, I
but
think it's
this
kind of
one-
funny.
So that was, I meant to pause it and introduce it, but then it just played for some reason. That was every time they swore, it got faster.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why it was like 7 seconds long.
That's funny. I like
Kind of whatever.
when that gimmick was like when it was just limited to the B movie like trailer or the entirety of B movie. I love a B movie meme. I'm a simple man.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's fine. We're all just trying to get through the day.
Yeah, thanks.
Trying to kill those last couple hours.
By like doing a fucking like 3-hour podcast about a 30-second joke song from a compilation in 1999.
Yeah. And now I'm not going to make you watch this whole thing, but this is sort of like the bridge from YouTube into covers.
Okay.
This is a fucking oh wait, sorry, this is the wrong video. We'll watch that one in a second.
Okay, I'll be ready for it though.
This is a 7.5 minute vlogger sort of like telling us about her day, and then shittily playing guitar along to the song.
Really?
So this is Jamming with Jenny, number 13, rock and roller. She censored all the cuss words in the description. I'll just play you a little bit of the start because you can hear a bit of the guitaring at the start, and then you can hear the YouTuber
Hey guys, it's Jenny and welcome to a new Jamming with Jenny. As you can see, I dyed my hair again and now it's more pink. And an update about my hair will be online on Sunday, so if you're curious, about my hair, just watch the video that will be online on Sunday. So it's been a while since my last video of Jamming with Jenny, because last week I didn't feel really like playing the guitar, so I just didn't, and that's why I didn't make a video. Today I'll be doing a song that was requested by Rock and Roller Passy for a few times already. Basically it was because it's one of my favorite songs of Blink-182, if you can call it a song. I'm talking about Family Reunion by Blink-182, and it seems that it's the easiest song there is. Believe me, I struggled playing this thing because it's just, I don't know, I don't hear stuff from a song, so I literally just did what was.
The thing about these kinds of videos is that they're so annoying, but I could watch all of them. As soon as it starts, I'm like, I just want to know what her week was like now.
But that's like your particular damage, because like I remember the first time, or one of the first times we met in person and talked a bunch about YouTube, I was astounded how like deep and true your fandom was for various vloggers, when like at the time I was making weekly YouTube videos. It was very much like my job and a hobby and something I like enjoyed, but I didn't watch 10-minute videos like this ever. And you were like,
have you ever watched like a shopping haul where someone
No,
just went to H&M and they tell you how much each thing was?
No, I've never
It's
done
like,
that.
It's hypnotizing. It's crazy. Like, I honestly, it was a struggle to hit pause on that video.
Well, I appreciate that you did.
So, okay, let's do a couple of covers, and then we'll get on with our fucking lives.
Hell yeah, yeah. You got to go
And then-
like maybe a bit of a cliffhanger. You got to go sell a guitar, and there might not be an episode next week. So we've like
I might get
we've
killed.
talked a lot about the 1-year anniversary episode, but
The Kijiji Killer.
yeah, the
Well,
Netflix
yeah.
doc's gonna be sick.
So this is just for you as the South Parkman of the pod. 'Cause he has the the Last Supper South Park thing on his wall. This is unfortunately what everyone has done and thinks is so funny to do an acoustic cover. So this is Julian Grimm.
Badass.
So funny, man. Can you fucking believe it? Like the lyrics are all fucked up, and then he does it nice and pretty sounding.
No, that seems crazy. Why would you do that? It's not right.
Shit, piss, fucking cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, and twat. Shit, piss, fucking cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, and twat. Shit, piss, fucking cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart,
It's so long. It feels so long.
He also has multiple stuffed animals in his bed.
I mean, that's not that weird.
Do you have stuffed animals in your bed, bro?
No, not in my bed.
Right. Oh yeah, you just have like Funko Pops and fucking toys everywhere.
I'm just a fucking giant loser, piece of shit. And you can quote me on that, Twitter.
Yeah, please, yeah, put that in. Like, I might think that a couple of seasons of Scrubs are like real fun to watch when you have a hangover, but you collect Funko Pops.
Yeah, I'm just like surrounded by old toys watching YouTube room tours.
Yeah,
And I'm pretending that it's ironic, and that's why it's okay.
right. And you're like, oh, Sam loves Justice League, a movie I have never seen.
Yeah, you don't need to see it because you already love it so much.
Just like living it. Yeah.
All right, there's a couple left. There's like so many fucking acoustic ones and edgy ones, but I'm gonna play a couple that were kind of fun. Well, first I'm gonna play one that's annoying, obviously, but I had to do it because it's like a band that people might have heard of, but I don't think I've ever heard this band, but I've seen their name a lot.
This was like a very kind of like festy band, like particularly when Junior Battles was like super active in touring a lot. So I know.
Oh, really? I thought they were even more like
Oh.
NME, or I mean,
Alt Pressy. Maybe
or,
I'm mixing them up. No,
Alt Pressy.
I'm mixing them up with another band. This is definitely like some alt press ass pop punk band, right?
Yeah, they're called Captain Chunk, which is just, I feel so tired now from reading that again. And they're from Paris.
I'm thinking of Captain We're Sinking, by the way. I just want to like.
Oh, okay. Either way, just an annoying sentence that shouldn't be uttered.
It's bad, yeah.
But yeah, I think this band is more like Nintendo core or whatever, where there's like really corny like video game synths, but then it's just like easy core. I remembered the word this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And now I'm seeing one of the members I think is wearing a Trapped Under Ice t-shirt in their press photo, and now I'm even more bummed out because that band is sick.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, so they've covered this song, and I don't know. Let's fucking hear it, I guess.
Together, and we decided we're going to play music together again. Blink-182 is back. Blink-182 is back. Shit, bitch, fucking cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fuck, dirty twat. 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 Hey, what's up, bitch? No, jump inside.
I mean, the French accent's really funny.
It's true, but I don't think that like any music was worth this. Like, I feel like if we lived in silence, it'd be better.
So I'm on the Facebook page right now, and I have 10 friends
Oh yeah, this is a new thing we do.
that like this band, and I am unfriending all of them right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's something else to look forward to in the Sclusy. We outed people who like fuck. I keep forgetting the name. It's like one of those folk punk bands.
Oh,
Really bad one.
dude, I think we've established this.
Swingin' Utters. Anyone we outed people who like Swingin' Utters.
Yeah, but like I just forget about, everything that happens on the pod the second it's over. It's a survival mechanism.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But yeah, that was really bad, and I hated it, and I don't like it.
Yeah, good. You shouldn't.
But yeah, this one. So then I saw this, and I was like, "Oh fuck, a fucking ukulele cover," but it's not. It's just like a shitty teen band that's called Ukulele Death Ray, and they don't have a ukulele in it.
So you feel
I was
like
like,
really
this is
betrayed
intriguing.
by it? Yeah.
No, I was like, okay, this interesting, a little bait and switch. Not only that, Team Deathmatch Productions is the name, so it's some very gamer shit.
Yeah.
Jake and Derek sing a local hit, Family Reunion. Originally, they played it on a ukulele and decided on their duo name, Ukulele Death Ray. Because I was looking at their other videos, and they decided to keep the name Ukulele Death Ray for their band, where they sing like folk punk songs about the scene. But one of them sold his ukulele, so they no longer have one. But this is the kind of video I love because it looks like shit.
Yeah.
and
it looks 40 years old somehow.
Yeah, exactly. And it sounds like this.
Shit, bitch, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, and twat. Shit, bitch, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, and twat. Shit, bitch, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, and twat. Check fuck your mom.
Yo, I love it again. I love the song. That was great.
This is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be two very blurry dorks where you can't make out anything except for their wispy teen mustaches somehow.
And the one with long hair also has a maiden shirt on.
Yeah. Like, this is what this song should be. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm
They're
back
just
to-
like, they're supposed to be working on their homework together, but instead they've decided to, like, and everything sounds like shit. And someone said stares at screen in disgust, and it's in bold because they tried to put the asterisks on either side to indicate action or whatever, but it
Right.
made it bold.
Yeah.
And then they've replied, "You, sir, can fuck yourself, you uncultured bollock."
Yes! Yo, Ukulele Death Ray fucking rules.
And they have another song about like Dungeons and Dragons. Like this.
Dude, these kids have in my mind become, like, except for hopefully the, like, having to go to juvie and ultimately becoming school shooters, the, like, first half protagonists of, like, best ever death metal band out of Denton, the Mountain Goat song. I love these kids.
Yeah, they're really good. So that was great. And then I'm just going to conclude with, I don't know. You are the expert on this. But I don't
Thank
know
you.
if this
I don't know
is like
what I'm assuming this is going to be an insult, but I'm just going to go ahead
child
and say
pornography.
thank you.
No, just kidding. It's vaporwave. You know this. You know all about this shit.
Oh,
Or are you more
yeah.
of a Simpsons waveman?
No, I mean, I definitely
Now,
also made a vaporwave video for sure back in the day, or probably did. I must have.
I mean, it's interesting because even in the last couple of years, vaporwave is kind of just the dominant mainstream aesthetic.
It's
I feel like.
yeah, it's sort of funny because there were like all these different like weird Tumblr like aesthetic musical memes that kind of happened and disappeared, and like C-Punk was a big one where Rihanna did like a whole C-Punk thing on SNL, and it felt like that was kind of going to be the thing that broke. But like vaporwave was just like a perfect, I guess, vehicle for expressing immediate ideas about disposable pop culture, and it's just become like vaporwave is just culture now. It's kind of interesting in terms of like all these weird little memes that sort of, and I get why like other ones maybe like are more niche and require more of a like background in some sort of specific internet born idea, whereas vaporwave is so like instantaneously understandable and like has a kind of like nostalgic ring for like most people our age. It's super interesting for sure.
So that's why I don't know. You'll be able to tell me more than me, but to me this doesn't sound like vaporwave. But there's all the visual indicators, obviously. Like the art has like a bunch of cool Google image searches in one place. So this is Monda, and this is the Family Reunion vaporwave remix.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that's vaporwave, and I don't know how to describe it.
I was expecting it to be more vibey. I really did like it, though. It sounded like a ball of... Like, it sounded like multiple chopped and screwed remixes playing at once.
Yeah, like it wasn't like a glitch remix because there were too many glitches.
Yeah.
But I was certainly like enthralled the entire time. But it's kind of funny to do that and then apply all these weird vaporwave aesthetics to it and call it vaporwave. I guess like you can't call it like just like a glitch remix because vaporwave.
Yeah,
but it's like tagging your song on Napster with a more popular band's name in the hopes of getting downloads.
In the hopes of getting played on Blink-155 pod, and it worked, Monda.
And honestly, like, if you're lucky, because at this point, we've done Sklusies with, like, pretty much everyone who tweets at us long enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you just have to tag the right thing and at Josiah a couple of times and, like...
Please don't. No, that's not how it works.
It's exactly how it works. That sounds like I'm diminishing, by the way, some of the great guests that we've had, and I don't want to do that. And also, please don't.
They're bad.
Please don't.
They're bad.
Please don't tweet at Josiah.
So let's do final thoughts. And for my final thought, I'm going to pretend that I was saving this all along and that I didn't just forget to read it earlier.
Okay.
So this is my final thought, which is that they actually, after Neighborhoods, when Tom ended up leaving, and then the world we live in now was sort of started. Their last show ever was in Vegas, and the last song that they played with Tom DeLonge, probably ever, was Family Reunion. And I feel like that was in 2015 or something.
That's a good final thought, though.
I feel like that would have been a pretty interesting way to cap off the true legacy.
Wow.
And I guess for a lot of people it would be the true legacy of the band.
That's pretty fucked up. That's really interesting. That's it. That was like Blink ended with this song. With I Fucked Your Mom was the last
That's kind of like
uttered.
It's a very profound way for Tom DeLonge to go out.
That's fucking beautiful, man. I love that.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, it's been a real emotional roller coaster with this song because my opinion of it has changed pretty much every 5 minutes of the last 2 hours.
So where are you at with it right now?
I'm kind of just back where I started. I just think it's interesting. It is a nice thesis statement for Blink, but like most things, it's the world is irresponsible with it and makes bad T-shirts and really bad acoustic covers.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say I started it saying I think it's funny. I called it clever. You were obviously vexed by that and kind of went at me for it for a while. I hated it sort of maybe, I don't know, 40, 45 minutes ago. But I'm back, man. Those last two covers like reminded me of the kind of like point and power of the song, and that I can't hate something just because like someone I don't like also likes it. And to think that this was the way that the book of Blink, as we maybe want to remember it, was closed, I think is quite beautiful, and I'm happy to have been a part of this celebration.
Well, that has been an illuminating 3-hour discussion that we've just had about Family Reunion, but it's not over yet because we have a guest. And Sam, I know that something has happened with your mic now where it sounds a little bit different, but this has been a continuous record this whole time.
We've never stopped, and I want to thank our guest, of course, for staying very quiet by my side.
A little well-behaved little boy.
Just a real...
It's been a horrible experience. It's been the worst 3 hours of my life.
Our guest today is a friend and colleague.
Why are you having such a problem introducing Mark right now, Josiah?
It's Mark Teo.
It's Mark Teo, author of Shine, How a Much Music Compilation Came to Define Canadian Alternative Music, and sell a zillion copies.
It's a mouthful, yeah.
That's a long subtitle, man. Like,
It's
saying
really
it out
long.
loud just now, I thought maybe you could have shortened that a little bit.
Yeah, probably,
just
yeah.
call it like Shine, a book.
Honestly, like the title doesn't even have the subject of the book in it. It's like the words Big Shiny Tunes don't even appear in the title.
Do you think someone might think it's about Shine, the Collective Soul song?
I mean, I hope so.
Or the, as my brother Johnny pointed out, there's also a great Newsboys song called Shine for all the Christians out there.
God damn it, dude.
You mean gosh darn it.
So, my bad.
How did you find a Christian angle
there-
into this? Like, I
know.
I am shocked.
I'm not.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm not at all.
So people complain that our podcast is too Canadian sometimes because we mostly have people listening to us in like rural Australia. So maybe we should explain what your book is about to like all the people who live in Wodonga.
What the fuck is Wodonga?
That's where Maddie lives in Australia.
Shout out to Wodonga Massive. Hell yeah.
I was like, did you just make that place up? That's
Yeah.
kinda rude, man.
Kind of racist.
Yeah,
I
dude.
know, it does
But it's
feel
Australian,
racist
so it's
to
fine.
say it.
So yes, Mark, tell us about your book.
Yeah, okay.
If you're American or Australian.
Yeah.
So I guess, okay, my book is about a compilation album called Big Shiny Tunes that was like put out by Much Music, which I guess in the 90s was kind of like Canada's answer to MTV.
But like way sicker.
Yeah, it was way
Yeah, it was
sicker.
better.
Yeah, definitely. So they would like service a lot of just like Canadian bands. They had shows that were like dedicated to alternative and rap and metal and whatever.
And French Kiss.
And French Kiss, yeah.
Which was very sexy.
So sexy, so Quebecois.
Did you guys, I mean, like, it's just the three of us here. Did you guys jerk off to French Kiss videos ever?
Did you?
The
Yeah, man.
air sexy boy one.
Yeah, exactly.
Like what videos do they play in
They
French
always
Kiss?
had like a lot of like side boob in them. Which was like as much boob as I got to see at that time.
Is French Kiss? I don't even remember it.
French
I don't
Kiss
even
was all
know
the
that.
like it was the French stuff, and so it was just.
But was that
inherently-
wasn't Musique Plus where they played all the French shit?
No, Musique Plus was the Quebecois incarnation of Much Music.
Yeah, that was like its own station.
And they had like more punk shit on Musique Plus because the Quebecois have always been at the forefront and then immediately stopped evolving in the 90s in terms of punk music.
Oh yeah, man. That is like Lagwagon could probably have vacation homes there.
Oh, totally. We once opened for Lagwagon in Chicoutimi in a hotel ballroom, and it was the biggest show that we ever played.
That does not surprise me.
No, it was sick.
Like-
Chicoutimi is like 2 hours north of Quebec City, again, for all of our Wodonga fans.
You could probably play that show in 2018 and it would still be the
Dude,
biggest
this show was in like 2015. This was not 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so Much was like kind of like cool MTV at the vanguard of a lot of different cultural movements.
Right. And they put out basically these like compilations. They put out a number of series of compilations, but their alternative music compilation was called Big Shiny Tunes.
Hell yes.
And the book is basically about that. So basically this compilation sold just zillions of copies.
A zillion copies,
Like,
according to your
zillion.
subtitle.
Like,
Yeah,
exactly.
It's right there on the
a zillion
cover.
copies.
Don't need to read the book because he gave it away.
But yeah, so this was like, I mean, it was a gateway album, like a lot of best of albums were, and it had like, I'd say a third of its tracks were Canadian. So it brought a lot of Canadian artists to the forefront and into like, the minds of like 12-year-old suburban teen. Like,
Yeah,
Well,
and sorry.
I haven't finished the book yet.
Rude,
Spoiler
man.
alert.
I have. I fucking loved it.
thanks, Sam.
I believe I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads.
But I was curious, was there CanCon laws at play in terms of like how? Because the other thing people in Wodonga need to know is that in Canada, legally, we have to play a certain amount of Canadian music. Did that play into the track listing of Big Shiny Tunes?
I think it kind of did. I think they tried to emulate their programming, so Much was obviously subject to CanCon regulations, and basically everyone who I spoke to at the station at the time told me they over-indexed on CanCon, and they basically tried to just like kind of recreate the Canadian ratio of music to American ratio of music in the compilation.
Yeah, and people, again, like in other countries might not understand this, but like Canada is totally unique in that we share a massive, basically unprotected border with the largest producer of like pop cultural content in the world, and it's all in the same language. So if you're in France, you're bordered by whatever countries are around France. I don't know, Spain and Germany. That feels right. Switzerland. Yeah. Okay. Belgium, right? Anyway, obviously in several of those countries people speak French, so I am fully subverting my own point here. But by and large, in countries like Europe, in say like Mexico, like you have a reason to sort of create and celebrate your own culture. And a big problem in Canada has always been that like, we're not so different from Americans, and they're making bigger budget movies. They're putting out big budget pop music, and it's very easy for Canadian culture to get swallowed up. And so starting in the 60s, they mandated, that basically 35% of like songs that get played on the radio, and in the case of a station like Much Music, could be baked into their broadcast license that you just have to play Canadian music. And as a result, you got all these fucking bands that we thought were as big as like Bush and the Prodigy.
So funny.
Right,
we thought that like One More Astronaut was like the same as Radiohead.
Like,
totally,
100%.
These people are
100%.
peers.
And to any Australian listeners of the show, like, have you heard? Do you know One More Astronaut? It's like no one fucking does. No one inside Canada knows what the song One More Astronaut.
But straight up,
like
you're fucking up Australians, because One More Astronaut is a huge tune.
Oh, it's a massive
so
boner
big.
Also, Australians are just fucking up in general.
You know what?
That's for another day.
And actually, we're going to have to come back to Australians on the Sclusy that we're somehow going to record at the end of this, where we're going to be talking about short music for short people, because there are some big Australian jams on short music for short people that have caused me to maybe rethink a little bit of my position on Australians, at least in terms of their pop punk bands.
So, what is your current position on Australians?
I mean, fuck them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly,
they're bad.
like when you
They're bad people.
yeah, like generally speaking, the two things I know Australians for are A, like challenging you to drink when you're traveling, and B, racism, right? Like,
Yeah, which like some of that's cool. Like drinking is tight.
Listen, challenge people to drink, like, kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take on that challenge.
But racism, gotta say, not that cool, guys.
Yeah.
Get it together, Australia.
Yeah.
But, the great thing about this book is that it kind of illustrates how we were kind of effectively brainwashed into thinking that Pluto's sort of the smallest band that you chronicle.
Yeah.
Like that Pluto was as big as these huge American acts. Like, I can't even remember any of the American bands on Big Shiny Tunes now.
Yeah, it's like Marilyn Manson, like Foo Fighters were on it and stuff like that.
Did you guys see someone found like the flyer for Edgefest like 97 recently or whatever, and it's like the Foo Fighters are on at 4:00, and then the headliners are like Moist and the Tea Party or whatever.
That's some Big Shiny Tunes shit, right?
It's like different era, man.
Genuinely, it's
this is like basically propaganda.
It really is. It actually is. Like under by like I don't think there are any metrics that could be arguable that would like state that, you know, Moist are actually as big as Foo Fighters, except we believed it. We fully believed it in 1996.
But I think at that time, and this is, again, one of the things that I really love about the book, is because it so much of, and there's just like very popular study, the name of which escapes me, but it gets referenced in like every book about popularity and how it influences taste. And so these, I guess, scientists or psychologists, which I guess, you know, you might be a doctor, so you probably, anyway, whatever. These fucking guys did a study where they had a website where people could download MP3s. And on one site, they were ranked in one order, and on another site, they were ranked in another order, like 1 to 30, sort of the most popular songs. And then they flipped it. And what they found was people obviously downloaded the most popular songs, however they were presented. And then they subsequently ranked those songs higher in terms of songs that they liked. So we are so influenced in our taste, you know, by other people and by, you know, wanting to kind of fit in, that if you say like, hey, here's Moist, the most popular band, like you're kind of going to make them popular. And I think that's tight.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like presentation and marketing matters, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, like it matters especially a lot when people like looked on these compilation albums as like gateway albums. And like spoiler alert, I talked to Josiah like extensively in the book about gateway albums.
The book's basically about me.
It's basically about Josiah.
Which is why it's fucked up that you haven't finished it. So, like, if you are a
Mark sent me the PDF, and then I did like a Command F and searched my own name. So I read those parts.
But you're not joking, right? Like, you did that.
I did do that, but I have the physical book now, and I plan to read it.
Which, like, to be fair, I mailed that to you like last week. So
yeah, I got it like 2 days ago.
But it's a zippy read, Josiah. Honestly, like both members of my house have read it. Ashley also loved your book, Mark. So get it.
That's not what she told me. That's not what she told me.
Ouch.
Oh, there's a lot of tension here. It's heating up as if it could be hotter in my house right now.
Oh my God, my brain is...
I already am like cooked. Just for people wondering, and say there's a heat wave right now in Toronto, and so Mark and I are sort of in a full bevy boy situation. A lot of sweating bottles on this wooden table. Don't worry about it, by the way. This table's a piece of
rings.
shit.
I'm sorry, man.
It's fine. There's nothing we can do.
That really seemed like the kind of thing you would only mention if you were concerned about Mark not using a coaster. Like otherwise, you wouldn't have brought it up.
Well, because he keeps looking concerned. Like he keeps like periodically, he'll be like, "I'm sorry." Like I'm like, it's fine.
There's a lot of condensation, dude.
That's classic Mark. Mark is so kind.
So, but I did want to say, I mean, obviously the subject of the book is very Canadian. It's certainly, I think the primary audience is probably people who like grew up with these compilations, which like we can't really like overstate the value of in terms of forming at least like my taste, and you do sort of paint a very effective picture in the book. But I also think if you're listening to this podcast and you're not Canadian, it is half a book about Big Shiny Tunes, the Much Music compilation, and half a book about Josiah Hughes.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
so, there you go.
I mean, yeah. Here's the thing. I mean, like, if you don't really follow my writing or Josiah's writing, and I would never expect you to because it's horrible. I feel like Josiah and I have had we've had like careers that have mirrored each other. I think that. Yeah, we used to work for Fast Forward, which was like this Calgary All Weekly, and it was like at one point described as a conversation between us, and then I didn't really disagree with that. So
like we would just put like inside jokes in the articles just for each other. Yeah, it's really I love like writing just for one person.
Oh yeah, and I love the idea of like forcing people to read something which it was not intended for them whatsoever. So yeah, half this book is written with and about Josiah Hughes.
Right, and is the half that's not about Josiah sort of for Josiah?
Yeah, I would say Josiah is definitely involved in 100% of the book. Half is about, and the other half is written for him.
Now, again, people listening to the podcast who aren't from Calgary might be shocked to know that Fast Forward Weekly, the alternative weekly that you're describing, is no longer in business.
Oh, that's for another day. One day I'm gonna rant like crazy about that shit.
I'm excited about that.
I want to get for once in my fucking life. I want to get on topic here because I think this is also relevant because, and I know from what I've read in the book, you do mention this a bit, but the compilation album is like basically, I don't know if it was invented by, but it is like the most punk thing in the world.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess let's talk about that in terms of like, you mentioned it as a gateway and you mentioned it as like, you know, you talk about it as being a punk thing. So why do you think that is? What's the deal with that? And how do you feel about Family Reunion by Blink-182?
Well, I mean, I love a compilation record, right? Like, I would love to say that, like, I discovered punk through, like, you know, like a Revelation compilation released in 1987 or whatever, but that is actually not true. I mean, like I definitely discovered punk through, like, Victory Style and, like, the Fat Wreck series. So, I mean, honestly, when you were like 14 years old and CDs were the prime way that you know listened to music and discovered music, right? Like you could go to the store and buy compilations for incredibly cheap prices, and that's how you would discover bands.
Or they'd like give them away at So Hip It Hurts, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like I remember just like picking up like CD samplers, like which like. Again, for people not literally born in Toronto, So Hip was like the cool skate shop on Queen West.
Yeah, it had like a resident ferret, I think.
Yeah, there was a ferret in the walls, and then they also had two mannequins engaged in coitus in the middle of the store, and then there was a sign that said, "Please don't touch the fucking display." And when you were like in grade 9, you were like, "This is the edgiest thing I've ever seen."
Yeah, they had a clerk with long hair and a beard they called Jesus, despite the fact like he did not look like Jesus. He just had long hair and a beard. But
that's a real like edgy. Yeah, like you're like Jesus, man. You're like, all right, cool.
But yeah, I think like before. Obviously, before you could download, that was how you learned about other bands, and you'd go to a cool place, or your cool friend would have a compilation, and that actually, the more we talk about it, makes me realize even more how sinister Big Shiny Tunes was. Like they could easily control the access to information so much.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like, and like, I think that's kind of why all the Canadian bands on it were elevated, right? Because like they chose 5 Canadian bands in 15 songs or whatever. I mean, the ratios were always a third in those compilations. Like, so 1 Canadian band for every 3 American bands. And those bands got incredible exposure.
But was it any different than... Like, I don't think it's sinister because now that's just what playlisting is, right? That's what Rap Caviar is. That's what, like, A-list, you know, pop is on Apple. I mean...
No, but I mean, like, are there, like, suits or even, like... probably some Canadian government agency being like, we need to put this much of this on the playlist, or has that freed it?
No, I don't think the playlists have any government mandate, but I do think they're at least, I mean, I don't know, depending on the service, depending on the playlist, they are localized, right? Mm-hmm. So I think there is an incentive, just in terms of like understanding like the regionality of popular culture, to put local artists on those playlists, but it's not mandated in any way. No, you're right. Mm.
But I think at least in terms of like the Blink song that we're talking about, that was probably like the ticket in why people would have bought this compilation.
They're the biggest band on this comp, right?
Green Day's on it, right? Like,
oh yeah,
that's true.
Who was bigger? This was 1999. So who was bigger in '99?
Like,
I think Green Day was like on the lower. I think this was when Blink was headlining above Green Day, controversially, on the
because it was Pop Disaster,
yeah.
But also like Woodstock '99, which was like a huge moment for Green Day, right?
That was a big moment for Rape as well.
You're gonna have to be the one to recover from that, man. That's not. I'm not talking after that.
It was though.
Still haven't said anything.
You got to remember the dark side too.
Well, yeah. Like I think it's a given. People know that Woodstock '99 was, I mean, for many, the end of alternative culture because it sort of showed that it was just as broy and shitty as like the things that it was supposedly raging against. In the case of the band, Rage Against the Machine.
That was like a good intro for us to talk about Rage Against the Machine.
Totally. But like, it is funny on this on this comp, and we got to save a lot of some of the comp talk for the Sclusy. Like this
comp
song, this song is so much better sounding than almost every other song on it. Like it sounds like a fully produced Jerry Finn Blink song.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's No, it has like probably the best like drum fills on the entire compilation.
Yeah,
like
it's extremely T-barked. It's so sick, and it comes like early enough that you would actually pay attention to it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But do you guys think people literally bought this comp because of Blink?
I mean, I just think that in general, you would buy a comp because you'd recognize one or two bands,
Right.
and then buy it, and then theoretically discover something good. But we're gonna get into short music for short people later, and we'll figure out if it's good or not. But I'm looking at even at like Big Shiny Tunes. I'm sure people probably bought it for like No Doubt or something. You know?
Oh yeah.
Or I don't know. Like actually this track listing of Big Shiny Tunes 1 looks like there's such few hits on there. Maybe Machine Head is like the sickest song to me.
I mean, I'll be honest. I was a Big Shiny Tunes guy, or Big Shiny Tunes 2 guy.
I think most people
Big
were,
Shiny
yeah.
Tunes 2 was me as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but you kind of address that in the book, right? Where you're like maybe you could explain a little bit about the difference between 1 and 2 for the Australians.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, two was definitely the biggest hit, the biggest seller of the compilation, of the series, I should say. But 1 was kind of the template, right? Where they basically just like took a consortium of in Big Shiny Tune 1's case 6 different labels and assembled them all into a compilation. So yeah, I mean, it kind of set the template, right? It's at a ratio of Canadian to American tracks, and it ended up being a pretty successful formula that was emulated for like the next I don't know, like
1,000 fucking years.
Yeah.
Are there Blink songs on any Big Shiny Tunes comp? There must be, right?
I think we talked about this because we wanted to try to. Yeah, What's My Age Again?
What's My
was
Age
on
Again?
4.
Yeah.
Was on 4. See, I was out by 3.
Yeah,
and
no,
I owned 2, and by the time I got to 3, I was good.
Oh yeah, totally. Because I mean, like you probably listened to this when you were like a teenager, right?
Yeah,
So
I was like a baby boy.
Yeah, like it would have been incredibly cool for you when you were 13, and you'd be out by the time you were 14. Like, yeah,
Yeah, then you're like better than comps, or not better than comps, but you want cooler comps,
right. Like I mean, you want cooler comps, like short music for short people.
It's so good. We gotta stop talking about it.
The comp that was really big, one of the comps, and also it's funny because do you guys get this where you feel like you have like 5 or 6 stories where you're like, oh yeah, that's when I discovered punk music, but there's like a million different threads. Like, maybe this wasn't, because I have about 6 of them, but one of them is buying Punkorama 3, which really blew my mind.
Punkorama 3 is like the Punkorama.
It's so good.
Sorry, I literally wife of the pod, Ashley, just sort of opened the door, and at the moment where it's like Punkorama 3, and I started to go, oh, like were you a Punkorama 3?
Oh no.
Oh no. Do you remember which Punkorama was your favorite?
No.
Yeah.
I remember Scotch Raps with my
Scotch Raps. Just like a little bit of an aside here, which is that Ashley is like certainly a true punk, but her brother was like much more of a like true us punk, and recently when we were sort of when her family was moving and we were sort of cleaning some stuff out of the house, we found brother-in-law of the pod, Brandon's old stereo, which is like the most pop punk, like badass skater teen stereo I've ever seen in my life. It's just covered in like every band sticker, and it's like the worst like bands you're like, I forgot that band existed, like Authority Zero or something.
Oh man.
And then
Authority Zero.
There's which I can only remember because the one sticker that really sticks out of my mind, just right on the front, just says "fuck Authority" on it. And you're like, this is literally the coolest stereo for the coolest team.
Oh man, was that a Pennywise sticker? Probably was.
Was
right?
it? I don't remember. I didn't.
Don't Pennywise have a song actually that's like literally called "Fuck Authority"?
Probably.
Actually, I don't have
Recently, I was at the music festival in Austin, South by Southwest, and we were just like in the hotel. I know, right? We were just like drinking some beers and hanging out, and all of a sudden I heard Bro Hymn like coming in really loud through the windows, and I was like, who the fuck is covering Bro Hymn in 2017? And I looked out the window, and the answer was it was Pennywise playing.
I was gonna be like a band from Quebec. Maybe?
It was a double bill for some brand that was like, I don't know, probably like Etnies shoes, and it was Jimmy World and Pennywise. Which, like, I'm buying whatever they were selling.
Oh man,
that
that's
is
so sick.
I think that is technically a cover, isn't it? Don't they have a different singer now, or didn't they? Because that guy quit.
Well, isn't Bro Hymn about? Didn't he die?
Yeah.
Isn't it about their bro who died? And that's why.
No, but I think their main singer guy quit like a couple years ago. The guy who's in the other F Word documentary that we'll have to do exclusive on one day.
I don't know anything about Pennywise.
You know so much more about Pennywise than I do.
Yeah.
I know so much about Pennywise, and I fucking hate them. But Punkorama 3 was like crazy for me, and I think
so
I just
good.
bought it because it was like $6. Like I've said before, the main reason I like punk is because I'm always poor and cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think in that case it was like, oh, NoFX is on here. I've never heard of any of these other bands, but I'll try it. And then next thing you know, you're into Wayne Kramer
and Union 13.
Oh yeah. I want to look up the track list for Punkorama 3 right now. Like I definitely. In terms of like wondering if you got into punk just because you were cheap, I said this recently, and again because it's so hot in Toronto right now. Like I've always been like just a wet boy. Like I'm sweating, and as like I'm in my 30s,
I've always been a wet boy.
I've just always been wet, and it's fine now that I'm an adult because like my life is okay, and you know I'm just comfortable with being sweaty a lot. But when you're like 16, 17, that's a fucking nightmare. Like I would just have like huge pit stains, like out, like pit stains you can't hide. You know, the kind that like are on the front of your shirt.
I relate as a fellow wet boy.
Yeah,
100%.
and I very quickly discovered that the only way to like to feel somewhat safe was to just wear all black. And you kind of wonder, yeah, like you're in all black. I was in a black T-shirt earlier. Now I'm just in a black.
We're both definitely like wearing black T-shirts right now. Despite the fact that it's like a zillion degrees outside.
Because it's just like it's not worth it. And I always wonder, like, is punk a thing that happened to me just because I was sweaty?
Well, I think that goes back to what we're saying about
theory.
like the suits controlling the Big Shiny Tunes compilation. Like honestly, everything we got into was specifically because of circumstances back then. And now people get into things because they discover all music in like one weekend. They're just like, I'm going to get into 79 Psych releases from Europe today.
Yeah.
And then they get into that. But back then it was like literally people could control the exact access that we had to everything. And even by making these compilations cheap, we would buy them and then we would automatically get into these things. Like they fucking controlled us.
Yo, but it worked out pretty well, eh?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty sick. I mean, that's why we like Gashuffer now, right? That's why we get like the Red Ants.
Yeah, that's the only reason I love Eye Against Eye.
Oh yeah. Oh man, look at this Punkorama 3 compilation, and there are some serious My First Hardcore bands on this. Like
oh yeah,
like H2O and Agnostic Front and. Oh man!
Yo, hang! We gotta save all this for the Exclusive because it's gonna be. They're all there. I mean,
we can't talk about. We have 101 songs to talk about on this because we are not talking about Punkorama. If you have anything to say about Punkorama, say it now.
Yeah, Punkorama's sick. That's done. It's over. It's over.
Fine. Mark, what was your relationship with Blink like as a kid, though? Because like you always seemed like maybe I'll be honest, like. We know each other okay. We've worked together.
Yeah.
I went to your wedding. Like that's we're good enough friends.
Yeah.
But like I always wondered, I was like, is Mark too cool for Blink? Like, what's your? Because you've always been like, you're a cool guy.
yeah, Mark.
I mean that as a
Mark
compliment.
has shown me. Mark
Thanks,
used
man.
to draw sketches of like gorillas smashing through brick walls for hardcore bands. Like he's like,
That was definitely like, when I was in high school, my drawings, my binder were definitely like Gorilla Biscuits. No.
Yeah. Whereas mine were like the Orgy logo because they had a logo and the Blink logo.
The Orgy logo's sick too.
The Orgy logo is super
Yeah,
sick. It's like, yo, is this
mine
the
was
future?
like the MXP. I was always drawing the MXPX guy.
I want to
Guy jumping through
see.
the wall.
I want to see your binders because in my mind they're like also covered in like ancient Christian runes or something.
Oh man, and like just like goatee hook logos and like ancient Christian runes.
I mean, you know, I've been biting my tongue to not drop the songs from the Penalty Box compilations
Oh, man,
in this convo because that was like the hugest.
What is
shit.
that?
That was like the Punkorama
oh man,
for
it's
Christian
it's a
kids.
tooth and nail compilation.
Oh.
I definitely owned it, despite the fact that I am not a Christian.
I mean, it was different back then though, like because I had so many. Okay, songs from the Penalty Box. Oh, this is volume 3. Hold on, I want to look up the original. Josiah,
Yeah, the
what was-
original one is the sickest one.
Oh man.
Okay, the
I'll
original
just-
songs from the Penalty Box has Stave Saker. This can't be right.
Yeah, they're so bad.
Stave
But,
Saker,
like,
Living
a
Sacrifice,
Living Sacrifice.
MXPX, Polar.
That MXPX
So, I
song
don't-
is like that MXPX song is literally the greatest song maybe ever written.
I actually don't know most of these bands.
Well,
Focal
I'll tell
Point.
you.
Upside Down Room, 90-Pound Wuss.
Oh, I remember 90 Pound Wuss.
90 Pound Wuss is so good. 90 Pound Wuss is like legit the coolest.
I actually didn't know Slick Shoes was a
They
Christian
started off
band.
sounding kind of
Oh,
like
yeah, man.
Descendants, and then they sort of like went down the white belt route of having like synths and talking about revolution and stuff.
Just got really into silk screening. And
Yeah, sorry, just like a little bit of walk-by commentary there from Ashley, which was these band names sound fake.
Not fake, just Christian.
Not fake, just Christian.
The only thing fake is God. Woo! Were you ever into
Whoa.
Christian music, Ashley?
No, except for MXPX. I love
Oh, what? Oh.
Josiah knows this, I think.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Turns out there's a lot of MXPX love in this house.
Ashley is like kind of like the Kramer of the pod. Like she just like walks by and like drops commentary.
Yeah,
He just walks in and makes it like a slowly going the way of the buffalo joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
That's all she's got.
Well, the Cooties is also MXPX. That song, why it's listed as blank, is because it's about writing the song. It's very meta.
So wait, the Cooties is a fake MXPX band?
Yeah, it's like just they switch guitar and bass and then do that.
That's so fucking stupid, man.
how clever.
Yeah, and Clank is like a terrible Christian industrial band. I remember playing this
Called
compilation for my
Clank?
friends from youth group. Yeah, my friends from youth group who liked Korn. I would play this and play like Living Sacrifice or Training for Utopia, like some of the like screamy metalcore bands or Strong Arm. And
yes,
my friend would be
Strong
like, "These bands just wish they sounded like Korn," and I got really mad.
I mean, don't most
back
bands
then I
wish
was
they
like,
sounded like Korn?
Yeah, like I mean, like that's pretty sick.
Like, and you don't listen to Prenup, I'm like, this band just wishes they sound like Korn.
Yeah,
That is true, absolutely.
Yeah.
But also, I got to say, Roadside Monument was like kind of like Christian, like Fugazi or something. Also, I think most of these bands weren't Christian at all. There was just a market for it.
So smart. Okay, wait. So we've established that there was a punkorama for Christians, but wait, hold on. So Gorilla Biscuits Mark.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What
So
was your Blink relationship?
Okay, so I mean, like, I find it curious that you always thought I was a cool guy because I fucking love Blink. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
like-
well, you're on the pod, so you must at least be sympathetic.
Yeah, well, okay. So I would say that I discovered Blink like probably most people. Like I saw like Damn It on Much Music on the aforementioned Much Music, and I immediately bought Dude Ranch. So like I heard that song and I was like, I'm fucking buying Dude Ranch.
Yeah.
Got Dude Ranch, listened the shit out of it, but also being the probably like, you know, like 16-year-old music punisher that I was, like I kind of knew that there had to be a first album that was better.
Right. Yeah.
So like I had
You were already there.
I was totally there.
Okay.
I was a fucking terrible, awful 16-year-old. It's like, but like I couldn't find it, right? Because like at that point, like I couldn't find Cheshire Cat in stores. Like like I lived in Richmond Hill, and I think they had it at like the downtown HMV, which I would be able to go to like once a month. But I remember getting precisely 2 MP3s I listened to the shit out of, which were M&M's and Carousel, and I had heard nothing else from that first album but those 2 songs, and I was like, this is the fucking band. This is it. Like,
yeah.
So I was very invested in Blink as like a 14-year-old or something, and like I think I actually saw them in the Dude Ranch era with Scott.
Really?
Raynor. Yeah.
Where?
Holy shit.
So I saw them at what would have been the Cool House, I guess.
Yeah, the Warehouse.
Yeah, the Warehouse, and they opened for the Vandals, and assorted jelly beans, fucking Scossies and assorted jelly beans, opened up.
Holy shit. Yeah, the Warehouse was honestly so fucking good, and I miss it.
Yeah,
because it was like the right size, and it was like scummy, but in the right way.
It was so fucking good. Like
so
I
good.
do want. I kind of feel like if you were into like Revelation Records, Gorilla Biscuits, that kind of stuff, I can see why Blink-182 would not have been corny to you. Also,
oh yeah,
like I feel like it's more corny if you come from like the like art school punk background. And it would seem corny.
I also want to make one thing clear too. I also was definitely not into like Gorilla Biscuits at that age. I was like not that cool. Like I would love to say that
was your chance to pretend.
Yeah.
Like none of us knew you back then. You could have been like, I honestly got into Gorilla Biscuits as a like 6-year-old.
I tried out to play bass, and then I decided not to do it because it was beneath me.
Did your fandom ever wane though, as you like, you know, because we all go through our snooty phase, or have you always been like just like a true blue Blinkman?
I think I've been kind of like as I got older and probably a little snootier. I think that I tried my fandom, like I tried to conceal my fandom a little bit. Like I think I've loved Blink through mostly all of like their corniest phases. Like to the point like when I worked with Josiah, fast forward in like 2010, like, you know, I was putting together best albums of the year, and Josiah was like, can I put Dude Ranch in like my best albums of the year for 2010? And I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, you can. Like, because like, I mean, no, I've always had a very soft spot for Blink, even though there are probably times where I didn't admit it. You know, like like, you know, like when What's My Age Again came out, you like, obviously I think I probably tried hard to appear like I didn't like it.
Right.
But obviously fucking
But it's
loved
so
it.
good.
Yeah.
And because we actually saw Blink together, like that AMP show,
Yeah.
right?
No, 100%.
I was like, I'm not painting you into my memories. That was insanely sick.
Yeah, that was fucking awesome. And like even the songs that like you should be cynical about, like Rock Show or whatever, I was like, no, that song's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
I actually have like a very distinct memory of that night. So like right like sort of when I guess was California out at that point? Whenever they did the first big tour with Skiba. So maybe California was out and they must have been touring it.
Yeah, that must have been the California tour.
They played like 2 new songs. So it was mostly what they've been doing lately, which is just all hits. And so they played at what is now the Budweiser stage, the Molson Canadian Amphitheater at the time, though. And so like we all bought lawn seats, and there was like 10 of us or whatever. And so it was like you, me, it was other like old Oxfam people, friend of the pod, Nicole. And so we had gone in for beers beforehand, and wife of the pod, Ashley, had come with because it was like all of her friends drinking. Now, Ashley, as we've sort of established as is canon on the pod, does not like Blink, but like all of her friends were drinking, and then somebody, maybe it was you, someone was like, I had an extra ticket that no one could buy, like it just faces like $20 or whatever it was. Was it you, Mark?
It might have been me.
Okay, so in my mind, Mark did this. And so we all went to the AMP to watch Blink, and like we all know that like Blink is a terrible live band, it was awful, but we were all soused watching our favorite band, screaming along to every song, having the best time.
Yeah, I think I had like an actual joy blackout. Like I don't really remember. I don't remember it that well.
It was perfect. Like we were just up in the lawns, like all of us, just like hammered, having the best.
I remember Ashley wanted to go see Headstones instead, who were playing at
the Headstones were playing at the Canadian National Exhibition, which was like across the bridge. Yeah. And so afterwards, we all went to a bar, and so the CNE is like basically like a county fair on steroids that happens in downtown Toronto, sort of right at the end of the summer. And so we went there. And all were like grabbing beers and just like so high off that show, like full joy blackout. And just being like, oh my God, initially, like, I was like, I'm not sure. But then it was like so fun. I remember they did this. They were so good. They were so sick. And we were just like, blah, 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 blah. And then at one point, Ashley goes, you guys are kidding, right? And we were like, we're just like, that was terrible. it was so good. Just like, it was like, everyone must be joking.
I mean, here's the thing.
Enemy of the pod.
You're not an enemy of the pod. You're just a truth sayer.
I mean,
I think she might. Honestly think that the villain of the pod might have been among us all along, and we didn't realize.
Oh no, Josiah thinks you are the villain of the pod, Ashley. But yeah, I think she's the only person who's maybe honest. Because we've listened to a lot of Blink-182 live videos on this podcast, and oh boy, they're not good. Guys, listen, we've been talking for about 36 minutes, according to my recording right now. We still have a whole other exclusive to do. Josiah, do you have any, like, important family reunion-related questions? A song we've barely talked about? Or should we jump behind the paywall soon?
No, but I respect Mark as a writer, and I want to know, Mark, what is the best cuss word in the song?
Oh, God. I would probably say, you know what? Like, I feel like the edgiest word when it came out was probably cunt.
Yeah,
like that's
like, still a third rail of a word. Well, there's another third rail in this song, I guess, but
yeah, definitely, and yeah, for sure. I mean, I mean, the other third rail in the song, was probably less edgy at the time. I feel like cunt has like a British edge to it too, which made it seem a little bit more foreign.
Well, in Britain, it's like not a swear word though. It's like what you would like call your dad on Father's Day, like, "Hey, happy Father's Day, cunt." I don't want to be into that somehow.
Yeah, I mean, like it's just like what you would call like a sales associate at Marks and Spencer's or something, right? Like,
I'm the lead cunt.
But that was probably the edge, like the actual edges, though. Because I mean, the rest of them are like things that you would have seen like Adam Sandler movies when you were 7, right?
Yeah.
Like, so
wait, what's the other third rail of a word?
Cocksucker. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's a good sounding swear word, but I think it has homophobic connotations, right?
It absolutely.
Like there was a hockey player
as
this
you
year,
have
right?
already discussed for about 45 minutes in the regular episode.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure we've addressed that. But it's the biggest problem with that word is that it's like fun to say.
Yeah. It definitely has like
It just makes you think of like lightsaber cocksucking blues. Like it's.
There's a cadence to it, right?
It's just got a sort of musicality to it. I think the best cuss word in it is piss. because it's just
That's actually true.
like why is
I think
that?
That's not
piss,
even a cuss
piss is
word.
definitely piss is the most punk word in the song.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
Piss.
I feel like that is definitely like a UK punk word.
Yeah,
You
you
can see someone,
sound
singing
like
it,
Johnny
you know?
Rotten when you say it. Oh, you piss.
But then
You
I think
cunts.
that they really sound like a fitted cap, like baseball bro, beer garden, like groomed beard guys when they say twat. I feel like that's what like fucking like just absolute bros in a man cave would be like, hey. Almost not even to call each other that, but to refer to like the actual anatomy as a twat. It's like very like bro-ish to me.
I feel like did it even catch on in broke? I don't think I hear that word.
That's a word, yeah, that like I hadn't really considered. Because
Yeah.
I don't think
No,
that's
I
ever
think
really
I
been-
think it's like a
Yo.
bro literature. Like I feel like Deadpool would say it or something.
What did I don't know? Like, I'm trying to picture like anyone in a bro. Like, oh man, like I'm just like eyeball.
Actually,
deep
maybe
in
it's
fresh
also
twat
because it's
right now. Like it doesn't feel right.
It's beside
No,
the
that's-
word because it's beside the word turd too. I think that's why. See, those two together, like turd and twat.
I mean, actually, twat might be a British thing too. Is that a British thing?
Oi,
Okay,
you twat.
But tell me you could not hear an alternative rock radio morning show called Turd and Twat.
I feel like that's like Dean Blundell's like newest
Oh
show.
yeah, people don't. That's yeah, it's his podcast now because he's been kicked off the radio for being like too consistently homophobic.
Yeah, for being too much of a turd.
Yeah. So he's owning it now. He's reclaiming it. So God.
Also, I guess that's a good time to remind everyone that we have not forgotten or forgiven Indie 88 for their crimes against the pod.
It's never a bad time to remind people of that.
All right, we have so much to talk about still. So we're going to go behind the paywall, and it's going to get a lot more insane, and we're going to all hate each other
I'm
and
so
ourselves.
stressed. It's so hot.
Oh my gosh, we talked about the song for 40 minutes.
It's already been 40 minutes.
Oh my god! Like I honestly should have brought my pajamas, my jammies.
I love that I'm like the Suits who programmed Big Shiny Tunes. I can just like control you guys from far away, make you do my bidding.
All right, well, see you behind the paywall, Josiah.